a snowy land where the dragons once roamed. A Viking and a cat make a cheerful home. Mr. Jingle purrs as he hangs the lights so bright. Together they bring warmth to a frosty night. Garlands wrapped around the many wood beams. Viking whistle tunes while Mr. Jingle dreams. Wreaths and ribbons, all the colors do explode. A Norse Yuletide tale that will soon unfold. With a yell and a roar they spread the cheer, decking halls with hopes for a brand new year. Mr. Jingle pumps his while the Viking claps. Christmas magic happens in their cozy laps.
Hey, yo, folks, it is Friday. We are getting closer to Christmas, and I'm getting more and more festive, and Mr. Jingles is somewhere. Welcome to the panel show. I invited a bunch of folks. A bunch of them replied with yes, but don't know when to show up, and some are in the background. But let me take you back to a few days ago, because I can watch this over and over and over again.
All right, good morning. Sure.
That you guys will not be able to go back or once we start. All right. So y'all ready?
All right, good morning, everybody. We have a verdict. We have two verdicts. And I do not want there to be any kind of disruption or disturbance in court, regardless of what this verdict is. So can we get the jury out, please? Very much. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand that you all have reached a verdict. Mr. Foreperson, is that correct? All right. And was it unanimous?
Yes.
All right. And this verdict has been filled in and signed and dated by you, correct? Oh, for each defendant. All right. And I noticed that Mr. Kendrick's verdict form is dated December 2nd. Is that because that's when you all reached the verdict with regard to him? Okay. And then Mr. Stillwell's is dated today.
Correct.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kendrick, you have been found not guilty on all charges. Mr. Stillwell, can you please stand? You have been found guilty on count 64, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and not guilty on every other charge. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are officially released from further service, and I cannot express the degree of thanks that Fulton County owes you for your service. Given the length of this trial, you have paid close attention this entire time, and I appreciate your devotion, as I'm sure do the parties in this case. You are welcome to stay for the sentencing, or you can return to the jury room. I would like to speak with you in just a moment in the jury room. If you all do want to stay, you're welcome to stay. Is there any objection to the form or the legality of this verdict?
No further statement.
Any from the defense? All right. All right. Is there any reason that we can't go ahead and sentence? You may.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot. I forgot something. I forgot this one. The final one for this trial. Sidebar counter 351. Yeah, that is the final count. But I forgot that on the live stream. 170 trial days included the deliberations, 2 judges, 50 motions of mistrial, and countless other things that I didn't keep count on, but 351 sidebars. How about that? All right, let's get back to this. Oh, there.
All right, so are we going to go ahead with sentencing? Is the state, I know the state had filed a recidivist notice.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do y'all intend to stand on that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So the recidivist is A and C recidivist. That means that I have no discretion but to sentence to the maximum on that count. And the sentence possibility is 5 to 10. I must sentence to 10 years. However, I can probate any part of that sentence at my discretion. And so the court sentence on count 64 for Mr. Stillwell is going to be 10 years to serve 2 with credit for time served, the balance served on probation. All right, I am going to recess. I'm going to recess for a moment, and we will reconvene on the status conference in a few minutes.
Yeah, I can watch that over and over again. And there's been some development since. They are now down to 5 defendants in the YSL trial part 2 after a bunch of no pros and plea deal, 1 plea deal and a few no pros. With that, let me introduce you to my first guest. It's her first time here. A big welcome from the Viking crew to the Fit Lawyer Atlanta. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for having me. I'm the Fit Lawyer ATL.
Hey, everybody say hello. Good to have you here. Your first time here and subject to my chat. Now, you are used to a bit larger crowd when you're on a panel, but this is my little end of the law tube, so to speak. So very, very welcome. First question. When you watched that, how loud did you scream?
Man, so loud. I was like, yeah. So I actually missed the live verdict because I'm still a practicing attorney in Atlanta. So I actually was in court in Cobb and started getting text messages. So I go to Law and Crime and I'm like, where is it? Where is it? It was so quick. I had to rewind the feedback to see it. And oh my God, I was just so excited that the jury got it right.
Yeah. And what came out afterwards with the jury interviews with 3 of the, well, 2 non-deliberating juries, 1 deliberating jury, and then you had the person who Dennis Byron interviewed. Yeah. Did you hear that one?
I did, and I didn't listen to all of it, but I did hear it, and I saw other commentary, and had that person made the jury, you just never know what the jury will do.
Yeah, and that, I mean, you are a practicing attorney, you have been in front of juries. Now, I do labor law, rarely in front of a jury. Extremely rare. Well, I'm Swedish. We never get a jury trial here. We have our own system with professional jurors and a presiding judge. But
Okay.
I mean, there are. If she made the jury, she would have hung it.
Yes, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
You never know
And-
what happens in a jury room because they're going back and forth, they're deliberating, they're fussing. Sounds like they were close to fighting sometimes. So she could have had her mind changed, but she sounded pretty firm on Dennis's show.
Yeah, and I mean, I all the credit to Dennis Byron for keeping it together, because he kind of looked surprised, somewhat, and I must say I was quite surprised as well. But the other three jurors, both the non-deliberating, they got it spot on towards all of us commentaries, what we said all along.
They did. I was so surprised to hear that though, because you don't always see that with juries. Sometimes they get fooled and caught up.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been, since I started this channel, this is my 18th trial I covered, and it's so different. Every time is different. And all from convictions of less evidence than we saw here, to directed verdicts, to guilty verdicts where you got, huh? How did that happen? And not guilty on people who you suppose. Oh, okay. So you never know, and that is also the beauty of the jury system.
Yes,
you actually have to. You can't assume anything. You have to be on top of your game, day in and day out.
Yes. And if you saw Max's shoulders when the verdict was read, he was such a sigh of relief, because you never know, right? You feel like you're winning and you feel like if they do the right thing, you will, but you never know. I saw someone in the chat ask what happens if it's a hung jury. They go back to Rice Street or wherever they're being housed until the state decides to strike it back up, if that's what they decide to do. Yeah. I believe in this case it would not have occurred because this costs a lot of money, but that's what happens.
Yeah, that was an interesting comment in the no pros motions, judicial economy. Now that could mean time, but I mean, I did a rough calculations and of course lawyer math, but somewhere from the incarceration in 2022 till now, I estimate between 10 and $50 million trial.
Wow.
And you don't, that's a hard ask from the taxpayers of Fulton County to do it again.
Yes.
So, yeah. But now, with all what these jurors said, have you practiced against Miss Love?
I have. Actually had a jury trial with her in 2018. It was a R-word case, and I got a verdict of not guilty in 37 minutes because they should have never tried the case. But she did everything she did in this case. She did an ex parte hearing with the judge. However, the judge did what she was supposed to do and came back out and reported that to me because they're not illegal. It was the point that Glanville didn't come back out and share it with the defense. So she got a material witness warrant for the victim in that case. It was something that it should have never been prosecuted, and she fought to the end.
Yeah. I mean, I've been looking for trials where she has been. You have the Shane Kendall case. I talked to Rachel Kaufman about that. The boy who was Shane Kendall was born with meth in his system. So he had everything against him from birth. So he developed severe mental illnesses throughout his life. And Miss Love managed in the competency hearing to convince that jury to send him to Fulton County. And everybody said, he's not going to live. And he didn't. Now there's a civil suit going on, but not against because of prosecutorial immunity, but
Right.
against Fulton County and the medical provider in Fulton County Jail. So hopefully Rachel shows up later and can talk more about it. And then I went all the way back to 2012 in the case of Kelvin. I covered it not that long ago. It was a case where he. It started with a meth dealer had an argument with her boyfriend. Got in her car, drove past a street barbecue of sorts. I don't know the term for it. And she started hitting people and backed up against a woman who was pinned between a car and that car. And then this meth dealer drove off, and Mr. Kelvin fired 3 shots, killing. And Miss Love decided to prosecute him for murder. And sadly, the incompetence of Kelvin's attorney, she, in closing arguments, spoke to his silence as an admission of guilt.
Which you can't do.
Yeah. And lots of other things. But the jury didn't convict him of murder, but convicted him of manslaughter.
Okay.
5 years later, it was up for appeal, and the appeals court said, "Oh, hell no," and send it back to the Superior Court. And that judge then said, "This isn't even a crime," and dismissed.
Wow. But all that time he was in custody, right?
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's what will happen in this case. And so I get, people are like, why did Young Thug take a plea? Why he could always appeal the case, but that appeal process can take years. His attorney spoke to that. Like, it could take years, and he would have been in custody that entire time.
Yeah, and I don't blame him at all for taking that plea deal, because even with Judge Whitaker streamlining everything, we're talking about 3, 4, 5, 6 months more of trial.
Yes.
And then Mr. Steele would have put up the defense case in chief. And then Miss Love with rebuttal on that. Yeah, that's another 3 months.
Yeah.
We would still be here summer of 2025, I believe, if not for that plea deal.
Yeah.
No, I understand his regret, which he somewhat expressed, but you never know.
You never know.
With the result, sure, but you never know the result beforehand.
And the trial would have gone differently, right? We only got a shortened trial because we lost 4 defendants. So if he had still been in trial, they would have still been presenting probably into the first of the year. More evidence would have come in. And so you just never know. So I think the right call was made.
Yeah. And also, I believe it was a stroke of good luck that Mr. Dennis screwed up, because he sat on some interesting information. Now, his presentation and the direct examination was really, really poor, but he sat on a wealth of information.
He did.
Which the jury never got to hear. And
he actually did. I actually used him in a case of mine, a murder case. We hired him as a gang expert. And so they have to provide you their CVs so you can get them into the trial. And it was all of everything that we were talking about. So he definitely had a lot more information to provide that he was not allowed to testify to. And you never know how that would have swayed the jury.
Exactly. And now he has some opinions regarding subliminal messaging and stuff like that, that for me is completely bonkers. But with a prosecutor that knows how to wheel this into, oh no, don't go there. Let's keep on the track. He would have been a completely different witness.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you, Miss Love, for being you.
Yeah, just a little too aggressive and not able to adjust. That was
Yeah.
the problem. Like if that was your strategy when you started out, but you saw it wasn't working, you adjust midstream and try something else, and she never could. So
No, and it seems, I mean, I'm going back to 2012, and she's been a prosecutor for longer than that. And it seems like she can't change.
no, I spoke to someone who actually works with her and has tried cases with her, and they said the same. She cannot switch it up. That she can't change it. This is her. This is how she's going to be all the time. She can't help it. Yeah.
And maybe with the right type of jury, that might work, because she has a bunch of convictions. She does get convictions.
Yes,
but
she does.
Not with this one.
They weren't buying it. And it was really good to hear them talk about all of the state strategies and how it never worked on them. The way in red at the closing, Simone even speaking, Miss Hilton speaking in the Philly hood Mechanicville accent during closing. Like none of that stuff worked on them. The lyrics, they didn't even pay attention to the lyrics. They dismissed that.
Yeah, the only reason they wanted the entire song played was because one person was not a native English speaker.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
That's
And
it.
I'm grateful you said all the words, because I accidentally said a few of those on a stream a while back, and I got some heat for it.
Oh, I ain't scared.
I mean, I can't do anything about this. I am the whitest man on the planet.
Right. I totally
1,000
understand.
years of Scandinavian inbreeding.
Right. I got you. So I saw somebody in the chat asking about Moontunk and could I file a motion for him? And so I'm not sure who posted. I don't know if it was what family member, but they shared that Derek Wright is still his attorney, and so Moontunk is still riding with him. So yeah, so if anything can be done, I'm assuming he'll be doing that.
Yeah, and for me, who is looking from the outside, looking in, the main argument for Moontunk is ineffective of counsel.
It is. And so to bring that argument, it needs to be a different attorney.
Yeah.
Because you can't argue that you were ineffective. That's what you leave for another attorney to hindsight 2020 the case and make that argument. So you're exactly right.
Yeah, and for me, I don't understand why he simply doesn't tell Moontunk, I can't represent you in the appeal. But sometimes,
and it really wouldn't be an appeal in this case. The only thing would just be a motion for reconsideration to Judge Whitaker. But it seems the spirit that she's in now will be a good time to file that and have that considered.
Yeah. I suspect that the next trial, which is which is scheduled to February 24th, going to be a completely different set of trial, because now she's in it from the beginning. I suspect they will file a lot of evidentiary motions, which might draw out things. Jury selection will not take 11 months. I can guarantee
not at all.
That.
Not at all. Not with Judge Whitaker 9 to 5. No, she's not going to allow that.
And if the prosecution says 90 days, she's going to hold them to it.
Yeah, she's will. Yeah. And so I think they'll be down. They're down to what, 4 that left? I know it was 6 remaining.
6 remaining, and then Mr.
12 remaining. We got that wrong. Well, 6 got dismissed.
6 got
Someone
dismissed.
Took a plea.
1 took a plea, so 5 remaining.
And then I thought someone today got a bond and got out. I'm not Kelvin Watts, Kell. He was released today. I'm not sure if that was through a bond or a plea.
Kell is Knott's brother, isn't it?
Which is confusing to me.
Yeah, how is he involved with the YSL trial? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, someone who's following it from the beginning is gonna have to. Someone said he's YFN. Okay. So I just know
Okay.
everybody was making a big deal about him getting out today. So so he's YFN. So then that's what I thought that was confusing. So I guess 4 left. Miles Farley, Christian, Christian Eppinger. They're gonna definitely take his case to trial, and I don't know the last 2 that are left.
Let's see here. I had it a few days ago. Let's see
Okay,
here.
saying Kell got out time served. Okay.
Mm.
Kell was released on his charges on time served, but he's YFN, so different case.
Let's see here. Let's go to Thugger Daily.
Source for all news.
Source for all news. Let's see here. But I know. Let's see here. Dun dun dun. Let's see here. I thought
So I do have the one for the Noah Pross, and so it was Khalif Adams, Justin Cobb, who I don't believe was in custody yet. I have to verify.
No, he was on the run for 2 years, but I think they apprehended him just not that long ago.
Okay, his case is he was one of the motion for dismiss. Jaden Myrick, Javon Fleetwood,
Garlington is in there, isn't he?
Damon Blaylock, and who has his case on appeal, and then Damon Blaylock. So those are the ones that were Noah Price.
Then Garlington is, but I had it not that long ago.
I know I'm gonna print them out.
Let's see here. Okay, 5 defendants have charges according to Joseph Papp. It is Miles Farley, Tanquarius Mender, Christian Eppinger, Demise McMullen, and Demikian Garlington. And McMullen is the only one remaining who was charged in the Donovan Thomas murder.
Interesting.
And that is interesting because if now Mr. Drinks is out of the second part, and
what additional evidence is going to come in against him for the Donovan Thomas murder that we haven't already heard?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and how will they that? Because now they have to argue since Shannon Stillwell was acquitted, they can't really bring that up as being a felony murder. Was involved, but if the other people are acquitted, how are they going to argue that? That sounds like a real judicial problem.
And does Woody get called back to the stand?
Farley is charged with the drinks. Okay. Miles Farley. Okay. Thank you. When I misspeak, my chat will correct me immediately.
And don't you love it? I mean, we can't know everything, so I'm looking at the chat as well, so I can make sure I stay updated as well. They're always
Farley and Garlington were charged with count 49. Okay. I need to get those papers. I need to get those papers.
I think I have the indictment. Let me pull it up over here and see.
Let's see. Bookmark, YSL trial links. Let's see here. Dun, dun, dun. Eppinger shot a cop, right? Yeah, that will be the main thing in the YSL trial part 2.
I agree.
Which none of the others had anything to do with it, and how can you argue in furtherance of the conspiracy on that thing?
I don't understand either, because clearly the probation warrant was only for him, and they're only coming to get him for something else, and then he gets into a shootout with the cops. So how is that related to YSL and furtherance of the gang and Rico? I don't get it.
Yeah, they did show it in this trial with a cop in an unmarked car, not dressed, jumped out of the car. Now, this particular cop, it's very sad that he got shot. I'm glad he survived. But if you are 5'5", you're not jumping on a 6'3" and say, get down on the ground. I mean, especially not when you have the rest of the police force within minutes.
Yeah. He definitely should have waited for backup.
Yep. But it doesn't excuse him being shot at, but
it doesn't.
No.
But I don't understand how that has anything to do with Rico.
No.
That's the individual act. But he has a lot of charges, Mr. Eppinger. And so they may dismiss, or may, like, I'm sure they have it charged in multiple ways. So it doesn't have to fall under the Rico. Maybe he won't get convicted of Rico, but he'll definitely, well, I don't know what the jury do, but it looks like he may be convicted of the aggravated assault.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can see that happening, definitely. Definitely.
Especially with the body cam, yeah.
Yeah, body cam, and then you had the surveillance cam also catching it, which really doesn't depict what he claimed, but that doesn't really matter when you get shot. He has an excuse for not remembering everything.
And you can just go off the footage that's on the body cam, and you don't have to worry about someone's opinion or what they think. If you have video evidence, that's the strongest evidence of what occurred.
Yeah.
And Eppinger has 14 counts in that indictment. So it's going to be mostly about him.
Yeah, which, if the jury is somewhat the same as in this one, they might see, okay, we have a bad guy. Why are these guys here? But I also saw that on that last hearing, preliminary hearing, that one of the defendants just got his attorney appointed to him. And this has been something throughout this indictment. There were so many that not all got attorneys. Some of these guys sat in jail without bond almost 2 years before they even got a bond hearing because they didn't have an attorney.
And that's so sad. And it's just because the defendants and their income levels. So when it comes to Fulton County, they have a public defender's office, but only one person from that office can represent someone on the trial in the same indictment because it'll be a conflict of interest. So then the second person in line gets conflicted out to a conflict attorney. But then after somebody from that office is filled, then the third through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they have to go to a list of appointed attorneys. And people had to want to sign up to be in court every day for possibly 2 years.
Yeah, and at the beginning, I remember they were offered $7,500 to represent. Then that, because for some odd reason nobody raised their hand to that, so they raised it to $15,000, and then they had to negotiate deals with. Well, we saw Mr. Williams, and she finally got $5,000 a month for representing. Now, $5,000 a month, that's not chump change. But if you are an attorney, you can take any other cases. You can just move, hey, can we have a break? I have another. That's not going to happen. So all of a sudden, because she needed to pay her office. She needed to pay for assistant. I mean, there's no way that's enough. And for me, that tells me, sadly, that might be in the tactics from the Fulton County that, yeah, we're not paying you. But here on the other side, we have 6 2 chief district assistant district attorneys, 4 assistant district attorneys, plus assistants, plus all the money they need. But you are only get $5,000 a month.
Isn't that something? I mean, I think the DA's office last year, their budget was like 55 million or something with all of the taxpayers' money and the grants they get from the government. It's you're going up against a machine.
Yeah. And despite that, look what happened. Not really the result.
Right. And no one can give them back the 31 months that these defendants have spent in jail, away from their families, away from their kids, all to end up with probation or dismissals. What about the ones that got dismissed? Which means, why did you fight against bond for people that you couldn't even prove were guilty of anything?
Yeah, but it seems that is a Fulton County tactics to send them to jail until they plead out. And I do believe Judge Whitaker brought that up in Mr. Williams, Young Thug's plea hearing, that she so he didn't accept probation because you had all these special things attached to it. And so when he didn't, you asking for 45 and 20 in prison. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Not at all. It was so ridiculous. How do you go from 0 to 25 years? So because I want to admit something, now I'm suddenly more dangerous. But no, you said I wasn't a danger. I'm still not a danger. But you want 25 years to serve? That's ridiculous. The ridiculousness.
Yeah. But this is one of the things I believe that we as both lawyers with content creation to bring awareness to these tactics. Because people don't know about it. But this trial really brought it up to the surface. And DA Fani Willis, I've heard she was a good defense attorney. And then she became DA and something happened. And I have had quite a lot of words about it. For me, I don't really care that she slept with Nathan Wade. I really don't. Bone your hearts out. But don't lie about it in court and church. And and then you're supposed to be morally superior and prosecuting. And I have.
Because if you're going to lie, what was the point of testifying? I tell my clients that all the time. They always like, well, the police want me to come in and talk. I'm like, well, what do you want to go say? And it's a lie. So you want to go talk to the police and lie? Like, no, we don't talk to the police. She actually came in the middle of her attorney arguing for her not to have to testify and volunteers to testify to not be really truthful. So, interesting.
And I'm so much awaiting the Supreme Court decision on that one. There should have been what was it? It was scheduled on Tuesday or Thursday, yesterday, Tuesday or Thursday, an oral arguments before the Supreme Court, and then they canceled it.
I wonder why they canceled it. Was there any word why?
I'm not entirely sure why. The decision was one line long. So it was.
I know there was another hearing last week that they were still doing the subpoena hearing in Fulton County. So I don't know if it was a conflict or something or what.
Yeah, that is the Freedom of Information. No, you have one, the State Senate Commission, who wants to subpoena her. Then you have the Ashley Merchant thing of the FOIA request, which Fani Willis lost. Then there's another where she defaulted. Fani Willis, because she didn't even write in a reply. And that, I think that was against the federal.
Okay.
The federal
Yeah, so
commission.
many investigations. It's hard to keep up with the
Yeah,
person that's supposed to
it
be
really is.
investigating the crimes. So that's really
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, but she might have bit off a bit too much.
Yeah.
First with the, I mean, I know that she was aiming for the next Attorney General of Georgia, and she was going there as the Queen of Rico. I don't think it's working that well.
Not with this case. Not with this case at all, and maybe not with the Trump case either. And you know, she was a DA prior to becoming DA, the elected DA. She worked for Paul Howard. She actually was involved on the teacher case, the big APS case that they had. And then after that went private practice and came back when she took office.
Yeah, claiming she would end the corruption.
Well, she's definitely cleaning up the streets, because there are a lot of people that are locked up. I don't know that they'll be convicted, but they're definitely locked up off the street and on high bonds and with pending gang charges. But who knows how things will turn out.
Yeah, I saw the theory on Twitter earlier today about they are getting bonds out on quite a few people. So somebody said the theory that, well, with the federal investigation on Fulton County jails, overcrowding, and now she's already reelected, all of a sudden bond is on the table. Videos are on the table.
Yeah. When the feds come around, you start cleaning up your act.
Yeah. Wonder where all those documents are. I assume they are with the Miss Gaither's report. Somewhere in the bottom of a shredding machine.
How could you bring a case with so much missing evidence? Like, that's like law school 101. We have to be able to prove what you're saying. Because, you know, I started watching the motions from the beginning. So like the bond hearing motions and preliminary hearing motions. And they sounded like they had such a solid case. Yeah. But when it came time to present it, they didn't have any of the reports. They were missing so much evidence. Look at the credibility of the experts and the detectives. The detective sleeping with Garlington's auntie, then this detective hollering at this person, and then Viverito threatening Shannon's new wife in the hallway. It just was a mess.
Yeah. And one of the things, I mean, all through the preliminary hearings and pre-trial hearings and everything, I started out covering this in May of last year because I was in between trials. Oh, Rico, this sounds fun. And a year and a half later, I did not expect it to be a year and a half. But I remember when I went from this is a disgrace to this is a Foster clock, was Detective Vasquez on the stand admitting that when he takes down witness statements, he erases them if he doesn't like what they are saying until they say the things he wants them to say. That he kept.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that I didn't see that, but then to know that was at the beginning, and then Viverito at the end is still saying if she had known that correct 24 M's on a ninja head, what that really meant, she still would put what she put in her warrant and present it to the judge. Is like, what?
Yeah, you don't do that. I mean, now, on top of all that, she is the one who is educating the other gang experts. And I'm dumbfounded in how? How is this?
Where did she get her expertise from? Did she ever have to speak on it? Because we know Dennis was saying something about Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, some movie references. Did she ever speak? Like, where did her... She was a mess.
It is this Gang Expert Association of Georgia, or whatever it's called. It's themselves. They hold a seminar every year where apparently they invite people to talk, but no scholars, nobody from the music industry. So it seems like it's themselves talking to themselves. It's a circle,
A think
something.
tank
Yeah.
of outsiders, right?
Mm.
So not even people who are in gangs or participating, but you're outsiders who are speculating the entire time. So they just sit around and speculate together and guess.
Yeah, and apparently that's enough for being an expert.
I see. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad this trial was streamed.
Oh.
So glad people like you and other Catnot Williams and Lead and AV and everyone put such a light on it, so the world could see all the injustice. Because you've been streaming, you said like this was the 18th trial. Didn't you see like everything you've never seen in your life before in this trial?
Everything.
What?
I mean, all the other small mistakes and huge mistakes in other trials I've been covering doesn't even come close to what happened within the first 2 months of this trial.
Right.
And
Right.
I've been practicing for over 30 years. Well, labor law, so not criminal law, but we get subjected to interesting things in labor law as well. But I've never even seen or heard anything like this. Anything. And speaking of someone who is not like anybody else, I want to present the next guest. It's Empress Fox.
Hello. How are you guys?
Hey.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm a little chilly. Forgive my attire.
No worries.
The last time I came on, people were talking about my crop top, so I'm trying to.
It was out of the roughly 1,000 people here. There were 2 people that said, "You can see her boobs," and I went, "It's a woman? Are you surprised that?"
Right.
What are you 12?
Right.
Yeah, but some people are only out to complain.
Absolutely. How are you, the Fit Lord? I've been seeing you all over the internet, so it's great to see you.
It's great to meet you too. It's the first time we've seen each other, but thank you so much. It's crazy, like that thug clip going viral. That moment was amazing. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did want to say something. I heard you earlier, Fit Lord, and you as well, Nick. Everybody was asking, what's the deal with Kell, right? And why is everybody in an uproar? So Kell, as you know, is Nut's brother, but he's also, as many people may know, I want to be strategic when I say this. He's kind of allegedly the energy behind a lot of this YSL Rico case and the back and forth and things of that nature. And his name has come up. Almost every witness that come on a stand has mentioned his name. So that's a big deal, right? With them releasing and dropping the charges for a lot of the YSL people, you come and now see, then they pretty much drop the charges for him. And it's kind of like, even though they're saying, I think Steady Nash said that his plea said that he can't come back to Atlanta as well. But you're letting all these people out at the same time. And for whatever reason, I don't want to speculate the why, but it's a big deal because to have all of them on the street again at once. And again, like I said on my Twitter, I hope that they prove Fani and the DA wrong, because I really believe that they're nefariously releasing all of them for nefarious reasons, right? And I just hope that everybody can prove them wrong and everybody gets out of the goals and make their money and go about their business. But we know with the streets, people like to retaliate and people like to, people are in their emotions, and it's fully understood, right? Because it's never any respect to any of the victims. But I really would hope that upon everybody's release that they're in a headspace to where, you know what, F this. We just went through a lot these past couple. Let's just let it be. That's to be, and that's how I would think it to be. But that's why it was a big deal to me to find that out. And I was kind of flabbergasted,
I knew his name kept coming up in the trial, and when they had Donovan's dad testify, it was coming up and it was pictures, but it was with some people in the YSL, and I'm just like, how is he involved with any of them? So thank you for that explanation. And the state definitely did that on purpose.
He's a big player in this whole, or allegedly, let me say allegedly, he's allegedly a big player in this whole situation. A lot of people speculated, or from us watching the case and hearing testimony, things like that, we kind of feel that between him and Woody, and no disrespect to Woody, but it seems like it was them two that kind of lit the fire on this entire situation. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things is from what happened between Woody and Kell.
Mhm.
And in the midst of it, you have Garlington, who also is a free speaker. That if I can, yeah. And everybody else got involved somehow, or they weren't. But the prosecution said, "Yeah, you're involved,"
Right.
and everybody's like, "Who? No, that's between those guys." He allegedly nicked some jewelry, and there was some woman involved and stuff. We had nothing to do with that.
Mutung said that he and Mutung had shared a girlfriend or something along those lines at one point in time, and that fueled some type of energy. And a lot of this stuff I realized after we have seen the case in total, I guess you can say. It seems like a lot of this started over a woman. And that's how a lot of street beef is started. Money or women. And it, at some point I feel as well, I'm about to get a lot of flack for this, but so I feel women, we have to take responsibility for our actions as well. We fuel a lot of fires, especially when it comes to the truth. And I feel that there's not enough responsibility taken for that. And I really just hope moving forward that everybody can be mature about a lot of the situations, and things could change.
Yeah.
Thanks, Flux, for the raid, by the way. Thank you, Flux. Flux is an amazing person who does not cover trials. She is the conspiracy queen of internet. If there is a conspiracy to talk about, she's talking about it. The horses are fruit conspiracy is one of my favorites. Yeah. It's just as interesting as it sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But Empress Fox, were you outside or in the courtroom when they read the verdict?
I was neither. I was at home staring at the screen, streaming. I was streaming when it happened, and so I was watching it. When I say verdict watch, I woke up at 6 a.m. because I was like, all right, I was gonna stream later in the day, but I was like, what if they come with the verdict now? And so I went ahead, and you want to talk about tears? Baby, I was crying like somebody gave birth. Tears just rolling down my face, like I personally knew these people, but I feel like we've dedicated so much time to this case. From some people watching it from 2 years ago, I came in December, so it was just like, I don't know. I cried real tears, and there's some elements when they passed away. So the fact that I cried, I was like, it affected me probably more than I thought that it did. But I was just happy to know that the jury, what many of us saw, and I pray that they're released within the next week or so, because I feel like the charges that they received in jail, had they not been in jail, they wouldn't have received those charges. And I feel like the contraband, I feel like those charges are petty when you see people being released for murder and getting this off and that off and that off. And so I'm looking and I'm like, all right, well, we got Newports and AirPods, and then we have people that are fighting for their life because not only Diamante, but Shannon, they both have been stabbed and been, in these situations in jail where it's like, hey, somebody let them go. They're already not guilty over here. Why are we sitting here waiting on AirPods and Newports?
Yeah, I heard Max on AV's show earlier today, and he said that all Shannon's charges were resolved, so he'll be getting out soon. So that's good for him. Last I checked the system, Diamante had some court dates coming up first of the year, so hopefully they're able to resolve his quickly as well too.
Yeah, but there's something riot.
Yeah, somebody fighting the rioters.
Well, that's just a fighting. That's just what they call any fight that occurs. Yeah, so it's fight. He is charged with aggravated assault and aggravated battery from that incident as well. So I'm not that, which means there must have been some allegedly there were some injuries But who started it? What happened? And as you said, if I wasn't sitting in jail for 2 years, I have to defend myself. I mean, he just got stabbed the Sunday before, 2 days before the verdict. So hopefully they'll get resolved. Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah,
cutie.
Mr. Jingles makes his presence. Yeah.
Mr.
This is Mr. Jingles. He is the leader of Mr. Jingles Viking Thugs. We are a non-criminal enterprise. We do not take responsibilities of others' actions or words, and nobody is a unknown, unindicted co-conspirator.
Love it. Love it. Hey, Mr. Jingles.
He is so happy when I do this. Look at that happy
Look
face.
at
He's
him.
not planning to kill me at all. Oh.
So I have a question. I don't know if you guys have answered this already, but how do you feel about, I would like to say it's a bot doing it. I'm sure it's not love, releasing or at this point, looking at everybody's case and essentially dropping the charges and dropping the Rico. And the big thing was they were on Rico, right? But we have Thug, Huey, and Nichols all pled guilty to the Rico. Oh, well, Thug pled no contest. No contest. I feel like Fani and Love or whoever the district attorney's office, I feel like they wanted the big fish, right? So I feel like in their mind they got it. So at this point they're like, all right, we got what we wanted, even if it wasn't like a guilty or he pled guilty to everything or anything like that. I feel like they got whatever they wanted on paper. So at this point it's up in there. But how do you guys feel about that? Because it seems like it dropped, and then we see that the other gentleman today, the one that I think he's the clothing designer. His stuff is being kind of look like it's going to go away as well because of the rights of speedy trial. He didn't get that. So
is that Miles Farley?
Miles, yes.
Oh, okay, interesting. So the dismissals come because look at the verdict. And so you have these open cases, no matter what they're charged with, they have to go through, they could possibly end in the same way because you got to think about it. Now you got to choose a jury from people who have watched this trial. It's going to be hard pressed to find a juror that hasn't heard something about this trial, something about how horrible the Fulton County prosecutor's office is. They don't want to try these cases. So the ones that are connected to the evidence that a jury already heard and didn't buy, you might as well let them go. You just mean wasting time and money. So that I totally expected some dismissals to come down. Now you got Eppinger left. We were talking about that earlier. I don't know. I don't know about that one. Right. So, but that's interesting to hear about Miles. I didn't know he had a speedy trial demand.
Yes,
yeah,
that's Thugger Daily. Thugger Daily posted that he originally had a speedy trial back in 2022. His lawyer was arrested that wasn't supposed to be arrested. And so then Glenville, per the way Glenville does it, he kind of put it on the back burner and never came back to it. So here we are now, December 2023, and they put his part of the trial, he got severed. So they put his part of the trial on hold to finish this trial, but doing that messed up his right to a speedy trial. And so
now I wonder, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut that last, how that's going to work, because Keith Adams talked about that when I interviewed him. So they filed a speedy trial demand for Thug as well in 2022, but there was a Supreme Court order in place during COVID where they weren't being recognized. So then they refiled in 2023, and that's the one that they were kind of acting under. So I wonder in Miles' situation, was his refiled? Were those rights reasserted when it could be after, once that order was removed? So I wonder. So that may be what they're looking into, if it'll still apply if it was filed during the time.
They said they filed a timely demand for a speedy trial in November 2022. This is from Thugger Daily. He said they were taking the trial in December 2023 in compliance with the speedy trial demand. After his lawyer, Mr. Manietis, was wrongly arrested, Glenville made the decision to sever Slato. The state did not object, and Manietis had no chance to object to the severance because he wasn't even present. It says he has been trying to go to trial this whole time, but the state decided to wait until the first trial was over to try him over 2 years later, violating the right to a speedy trial based off his demand. He will file a follow-up brief to support this motion in the near future.
Yeah, and
hopefully that
let's
works.
see here. Dun, dun, dun.
It's 17 hours.
Sorry.
Here it is. Plea in bar. Motion to dismiss based on statutory speedy trial demand and constitutional speedy trial rights. The two least favorite words in a legal brief comes now. The defendant filing this plea in bar and motion to dismiss in the above styled case, and in support thereof asserts the following. Mr. Foley is innocent of all charges in the above styled case. On November 29th, 2022, Mr. Foley directed attorney to file a statutory speedy trial demand for the charges in the above styled case, and attorney did so. This demand for a speedy trial was never dismissed. Interesting. At the time of the demand, the state's obligation to put defendants on trial in compliance with the time deadlines of speedy trials had been suspended due to the COVID-19. Eventually, this suspension came to an end, and the state began its trial against Mr. Foley in compliance with his demand for a speedy trial on or around January 4th, 2023. On April 20th, 2023, attorney was wrongfully arrested by Fulton County deputies upon appearing for trial that day in the above-styled case, without any probable cause to search attorney, nor any minutiae of evidence against attorney to justify his arrest. Upon this arrest, Judge Glanville unilaterally and on his own accord severed Mr. Foley from the trial and proceeded with the case against the co-defendants, without any input from the state attorney nor Mr. Foley. The state did not object to Mr. Foley's severance. Mr. Foley had no opportunity to timely object, nor acquiesce his severance, nor any opportunity to have timely legal advice about it. At the time of the severance, Mr. Foley was denied representation because attorney was wrongfully in Fulton County custody. Ever since the involuntary severance, Mr. Foley has continuously announced ready for trial and has never asked for a continuance. At a subsequent status hearing in the above-styled case against Mr. Foley, the state told the judge that they were unwilling to try Mr. Foley in the above-styled case until after the conclusion of the trial that he was severed from. As of the filing of this motion, December 6, 2024, the state apparently wants to put Mr. Foley on trial in the above-styled case starting sometime in 2025. This would be well outside the time limit for Mr. Foley's statutory right to a speedy trial, starting when the suspension of the state's timeliness obligation had been lifted. This would also be in violation of Mr. Foley's constitutional speedy trial rights under the United States and Georgia constitutions after a balancing test of the Barker-Wingo factors. Mr. Foley will file a brief in support of this motion as soon as possible. Okay. Yeah, if everything in there holds up, I mean, I don't practice in the United States at all, definitely not in Georgia, but it seems really like if his speedy trial thing was never handled, then it's in effect.
Yeah, I see what the argument is going to be is whether one needed to be refiled, because they mentioned filing the first one during the stay. There was a stay put in place. So if there's a stay in place, which means we're not honoring these things filed during this time period, when the time period is lifted, do you have to refile it, or if what you filed prior? So in Thug's case, they refiled theirs. So I wonder. Yeah, so I wonder, and I don't know the answer to that. You know how the law is the law, but then the case law is what determines how the law is applied. So that's what he'll be asking to file the brief for, so his attorney can do some legal research on it. So it'll be interesting to follow that argument. Hopefully he's right and he can just get out and won't have to deal with the trial at all.
Right.
Now, the one other person in the next trial I'm really, really interested is Mr. Garlington, because he has been in almost every jail phone call in this trial.
I have some thoughts on that, but I don't know if I should share them on this here platform.
Go ahead and share them, because you got all the tea with the facts and stuff, right? I got the law part. Bring us the facts.
Yeah. You go right ahead.
I don't know if it'll be fact or opinion, but I guess it's opinion. I'll start with my opinion. So a lot of those calls, we know, God, okay, sorry. Talking, okay. So we know that there are informants and things of that nature, right? Some of those calls didn't seem, there are dumb criminals everywhere, right? But some of those calls just seem so specific that it really makes me feel okay. So let me break it down for the audience. You have your criminal informants, but you also then have people that simply cooperate with the officers or whatever, right? Now I don't know which would be which because we had the same feeling sometimes about Woody and some others, right? But he seems to be in the mix of everything, right? And then we find out about Gaither, right? And Gaither allegedly being his aunt, and how I personally feel she infiltrated the hood and got all of this information from people and used that against them to the point where phones are being tapped and things of that nature. The jail calls, it just seems very odd to me, or off filter. Because again, there's dumb criminals that just talk whatever on the phones, even though it said they've been recorded or on these wiretaps or whatever. But some of the things that he would just say every time when I would hear one of those calls, and I'm just I instantly, and I'm speaking to a couple people on Twitter and things like that, we kind of came to the same conclusion that we believe that he was either cooperating with the cops or he was a criminal informant based upon the dynamic of those conversations. Yeah.
But has he gotten a benefit though? Because most times criminal informants aren't defendants.
Which is why I didn't say informant. I said that he was
cooperating. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're right. So maybe that's it. Because YSL Obama was he on wire?
Also,
was he wearing a wire?
He was a part of that. I have a little whiteboard with somebody, and we've been making different things to kind of figure out outside of what they're saying in the case what makes factual sense. And his nervousness. Now, granted, Motso, went to jail for not speaking directly to his plea, but Obama was so nervous. He was about to, there was no more water left in that bottle, and he was just from his demeanor and things of that nature and hearing the other calls, we felt like he was also somebody that was cooperating. Again, and I keep saying there's criminal informants that is cooperating. You cooperate simply to the benefit of your benefit, right? And even if you end up in jail like Garlington is, sometimes there's optics. I'll just say that optics, everything.
And that's true. Yeah, they will arrest everybody to throw people off that you're the mole or the one that is informing. However, also with Obama, he had been arrested, I believe it was August, in DeKalb County for theft by shoplifting.
Right.
So the state had actually filed a motion to revoke his probation prior to him testifying.
Right.
And I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe the word was testify like you need to be testifying, which is based off your plea deal and the factual allegations that no one can find a copy of, right? Because they weren't filed. So we don't know what he was supposed to say.
Yeah.
And then we will not revoke your probation. So not only is he nervous because he saw what happened to Moontoon, he also has this hanging over his head that you have to be right. So every time he looked like he wanted to go left and she would remind him, then he would take that swallow and say what he had to say. Because, you had to stick to it.
As an attorney, what's your thought on plea deals? Like, I don't know how much you can say, but I really want to know from quite a few attorneys, what is your real thought on plea deals and the reasoning? A lot of people take plea deals simply to get out. They don't always have to be guilty, but I think that with the way Fulton County does their plea deals and their lengthy probation sentences and things of that nature, I feel that Fulton County misuses plea deals, and that's also how they've gotten a lot of their backlogs taken away, because they really dismissing cases simply giving out plea deals like it's aspirin. And so I just really wanted to know what your thought was being in Atlanta. Somebody understood in Atlanta.
Now, before you answer that, I have the next guest, and
Awesome.
And yeah, she doesn't need an introduction. It's
Hi
Kat.
guys.
Hey, Kat, how you doing?
Hello. It's ladies' night in here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't mind.
Oh, okay. Hey, Kat, how you doing? It's our first time on a panel
Good.
together.
Good to meet you.
Same here.
I'm
So
loving
what I was
Christmas
going to say,
decorations.
Yeah.
it's so cute, was like, okay, so plea deals in any jurisdiction, you got to think about it. If like, just say like the Fulton County Solicitor's Office, they arrest 10,000 people a year.
Mhm.
So if all 10,000 people said we want trials, it would literally lock up the justice system. So that goes across every justice system. Okay. So that is why they push the plea deals, are pushed to resolve cases so that you don't have that issue. If the Superior Court of, let's say, Fulton County, and I think they maybe have 16 so judges, it's only 52 weeks in a year.
Mhm.
And most felony trials would last at least a week.
Mhm.
So they're not going to try a case every week because they have to have arraignments, bond hearings, probation, revocation hearings. They also have civil matters that they have to hear. So you may get 20 or so trials a year. Now, mind you, I said thousands were arrested. So then you get in a position like if you're going to demand that trial, you may be waiting years to have it. So the plea deal comes in the fact of, yes, I want to get out of jail, because if you're charged with a serious crime or your bond's $250,000, you can't afford to get out. So then plea deals will be introduced, but also sometimes you're charged with crimes that could get you life in prison if you're convicted.
Could.
And while they don't have all the evidence, maybe they have enough to where you're not willing to take the risk. So a lot of people will fault defendants for taking pleas, but they're not the person taking the risk. So you hope it's a jury of your peers, right? But we've only heard from 3, or really one person, I believe, or 2 that were actually on the jury and deliberated. So is it a jury of your peers? How many of us, or you hear people that get jury notices and toss them? I don't want to go. I ain't doing that. But it's like the defendants are most likely going to look like us, me. So is it going to be a jury of your peers? Maybe in Fulton, possibly DeKalb, but you go to Cobb, not. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to consider when you're charged with a crime. A lot goes into that.
I think personally that and it's just a personal opinion, but I think that it gives, in Cook County, just in case you don't, so I'm in Chicago, right? So I think that plea deals give the judicial system an easy out and doesn't make them actually do the work. I am anti-plea deal. I understand that it would back up the system, but the system wouldn't be backed up if people worked efficiently and people worked effectively, and people, including not only the detectives, but people in the offices, it makes them actually have to work, right? And I watched a documentary a while back called 13th, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen that. And in 13th, people were saying that if people stop taking plea deals and ask for a trial, it would break the system, right? And everybody always talk about how we need to reform the system and this, that, and the third. Well, maybe we need to break the system. And that's just my personal opinion based upon what I've seen throughout this country and how the judicial system takes their time, and you file something that may not be until like weeks or months later. And then we saw how people like Miss Love doesn't like to do homework. So once they leave their job, that's that, right? And I feel like that does a disservice to the people in this country, because when we take those plea deals simply because we want to get out, say it's an institution like Rice Street, and it's not humanly possible to be in those situations, you're like, forget it, I can't do it. But in doing that, based on statistics and things that are on paper, we're making these different organizations look good. And I think that people need to stop making them look good and make them do their damn job. Excuse me for cursing. I felt that coming out before I came out, but they need to do their job. And I feel like when we have attorneys like Brian Steele and Doug Weinstein and Keith Adams, and all, they are the epitome from what I've seen of what it looks like to do your job, right? And Granville used to get back and said, oh, you're taking up time. But it's like, they're doing their job. There's laws for a reason, and those laws need to be had. And I don't think they took up time. I think they filed every motion that they were supposed to file to make sure their clients got the proper ending to their story. So I'm just anti-plea. I just want to know what you thought about plea deals as a lawyer, because
No, it's
to
a
me,
great
I think
opinion.
plea deals is that easy way out. You know, when we look at how Thug pled to various things, right? Because he wanted to go home. He wanted to go home to his family. But then we look and we see that all the Ricos just got brought for 6 individuals. We see that it was not guilty for Rico, for Yak, and for Shannon. And so then you look at it, and most of us saw from the beginning that it was never a Rico to begin with. And then you hear the jurors say, well, every time I heard a call, somebody was asking for money and people were broke. So for us,
What's the enterprise?
Right. What's the Rico?
Yeah, this is the worst criminal enterprise in history because everybody's broke all the time. And
yeah. So I understand what you're saying, but in order for, we're outsiders in the sense of we're not in custody.
Right.
So what you're asking people to sacrifice their life in hopes to fix this broken system, right? So I already see your face, and
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
And so but because then we do get stuck in this system where we're still with the same system. It needs to change from above down. The people that are in jail don't need to be the ones to make 5, 4, 6-year commitments to sacrifice to change the system. And that's what they'll be doing. So they'll be away from their family. Look at when I talk about risk. So Thug took the choice to exit.
Right.
Because what he's thinking about is, what is this jury going to think when they hear evidence that I own the home that the machine gun was found in, the drugs were found in, the guns were found in there. So am I going to be found guilty? And I asked his attorney about that, Keith Adams. He said, we had 40 witnesses lined up to come in and talk about who owned this, and I don't own it. You know, so then what would the jury have done? It sounds like this jury may have gone with them. But as the defendant, you never know. You know, that's 6 more months. I've already missed 2 years. I'm the breadwinner for my family. I'm the one that's, you know, the ticket out of poverty for my family.
Right.
And do I take the risk? And people are like, oh, get the appeal. But then because of his charges, he doesn't get an appeal bond. So then that's 4 more years where I'm waiting on my appeal to be decided. So that's a hard ask. So just to change the system. So I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
And I think they would have looked at the firearms because they were willing to get Shannon for the 1 charge, and they were thinking about that watch. So if they decided that anything could have been Diamante Kendrick's, they may have spent more time figuring out those possession charges for him. So I think Jeffrey Williams made the right decision.
Oh no, I'm with you.
Because that tacks on time. Those charges just tack on time. It's not just itty bitty.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we don't have the bond system here in Sweden. You're either in custody or you're not. You can't pay yourself out of it. It all depends on a few factors: is flight risk and the severity of the alleged crime. Those more or less are the factors that either you are in jail or you're not. So we don't have this special. Oh, but he can get I almost said a foot locker, but what's it called? Ankle bracelet. Yeah, the GPS thingy.
The ones that don't seem to work
over here.
very
That's
well
that's a part of sentencing. You get convicted to a probation with ankle bracelet. So we don't have that bond system here at all. So, but we don't have plea deals either. We don't have that at all.
So it's all trials.
All trials.
That's good. Right. Well.
Yeah, and now we are backed up, especially since Sweden decided last year to 0.5 grams of cannabis is with the intent to sell, with an obligatory 6 months in prison.
Wow. I won't be smoking there.
No. Oh no. Last year they prosecuted 2 people for non-measurable amounts of cannabis, which is 0.04 grams of cannabis. They were prosecuted.
Wow.
Yeah, don't come here if you like pot. Just don't. The rest of the world, hey, it's a plant. Blah blah blah. Sweden, no. We
That's
are
crazy.
we are still war at drugs because apparently it's not working here either.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so no pleas, no anything of that sort. So everybody is it's trials. Now you can accept a verdict. You can go in and say, I accept this verdict for lesser crimes. For instance, for speeding tickets, for DUIs, for defamation. Yeah, defamation here is a criminal offense, so it's not civil.
That's
So here, with all the burdens and everything that applies to it. But yeah, other than that, yeah, we only have trials, but. So it can be done, but we don't have a jury system either. We have this.
my judge.
We have in the lower court we have the judge and 4 layman judges or professional jurors who are appointed 4 years on 4-year terms.
Professional jurors. That's interesting.
So ask your Broken Baker about it, because he is one of these professional jurors.
Who?
Broken Baker.
YouTuber.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great channel.
Yeah.
Great channel, great accent.
Yeah. He's
do you have any
Danish, but don't
mechanisms,
hold it against him.
Do you have any mechanisms like, not a plea deal, but something like an adjournment and contemplation of dismissal where, there's any type of mechanism at all to get someone out and we'll just wait and see if you do something again and we'll bring you back?
Well, that is in what we call, you have 4 levels of suspicion. You have the lowest up to the highest. The highest is when you go to trial. And at trial is when you are read the actual charges. So you don't get charged until the first day of trial. Wow. But in the different levels, you have the prosecutor has to show if the lowest is we think it's you. The second lowest is okay. We now have actual evidence. Now we can do the search of your home, surveillance, and stuff like that. And then you can be put in jail. But every month, you have to have, well, not every month, but regularly, you have to have a new hearing about how is the case developing. And if the case is at a stalemate, then the judge can say, well, now we're releasing that person waiting for trial. If that person is deemed to not be a flight risk and not a danger to the investigation. So, but we do have people who have been, there's one case quite recently where he was in jail for 4 years without charges.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was a completely different person when he came out of jail, let me say that. But since they dropped the charges after 4 years, he then got, well, I believe the equivalent of I want to say $1.6 million for 4 years in jail. But
Was that
he
like
came
a
out of there
standardized
with.
thing, or did he have to fight for it?
No, that's mandated. If they
like
are releasing that person with no charges after 4 years, we're dropping the charges. There was nothing, and he has been incarcerated for 4 years. Then you are automatically in the. Well, you still have to file all the paperwork.
Wow.
That's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now he is still barely human because during those 4 years he lost all of his teeth.
Right.
He developed skin conditions because he was in what the equivalent of or maybe your American measurement standards. Yeah, he was more or less in the hole for 4 years. So 1.6, yeah, that sounds like a lot, but not when no teeth,
Yeah,
can barely
issues-
walk in skin conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And issues like that seem like they could shave a decade or more off your life in the long
Yeah.
run. So
Yeah. So we do have a few of those cases, but generally we go to trial quite quickly here. I mean, most murder cases are from murder to trial in less than a year.
Yeah.
So what's the
that doesn't happen here.
crime,
Sorry.
like what's the crime rate? I mean, Sweden is not like as big as like I guess the U.S. or whatnot. So when you talk about like there's still kind of being a backlog or backup, what's the
But
rate or percentage of people that are in jail in Sweden?
well, the backlog is predominantly drug charges.
Okay.
And we have, I believe, 2022 is the last year of statistics. I read it a few weeks ago. We have 0.89 murders per 100,000 people, where the United States have something in the region of 7.2. So, but we do have in the other end, when it comes to sexual assault cases, we are way higher because we have more things are included as sexual assault in Sweden.
Right, like the condom thing, right? I'm thinking of Julian Assange.
Yeah,
right?
If you rip the condom off and say you have a condom on and do it anyways, that counts as a sexual assault.
And that's like a horrible thing to do, right? But that also leaves a door open to a lot of he said, she said, where maybe that isn't actually what occurred.
Yeah.
But how do you prove it didn't occur if someone's claiming it?
Yeah. So we have a lot of he said, she said cases in that area as well. And then we also have a history of reporting those crimes. So while the rest of the world is like, I think the stat is somewhere between 3 and 5% of all SAs are reported. I believe Sweden is just over 10%.
Wow.
So, and but generally we have less crime, but then we have areas in Sweden that makes Atlanta look, well, it's equivalent to Atlanta. And those places I do not walk in to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So pretty much you're saying that is there is crime everywhere, but there's also pockets where it's exponentially higher than other places.
Yeah. Our so-called no-go zones, we have around 40 of those in Sweden. And then the extreme risk ones, I believe, is 5. All in the major cities in, surprisingly enough, poverty areas.
That's global. I try to tell people all the time that's global. It's not just United States. We have places, and we have places where you can have a commercial. So it's kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Sure.
So somebody is texting somebody a lot. By the way, we can hear the buzz.
I think I put it on.
No worries. So yeah, let's get back to the YSL trial. What do you think happens between now and February 24th?
A bunch of emotions flood in. A bunch of emotions. Motion mania.
Yeah. After they get the discovery. So I thought that was telling, because one attorney hasn't gotten his 8 terabytes of discovery yet. So he has to be served.
I would say it seemed like an attorney for another defendant also chimed in and said there hasn't been new discovery since like April or something like that. So it seemed like whoever said it first, someone else backed it up. Like, hey, it's even longer than you entered an appearance.
Yeah. And there might be new discovery motions because some testimonies in this trial have been very interesting. You have, for instance, also very early on in the laundromat incident, where cop after cop, no, there's no surveillance video. No, there's no surveillance video. And then in discovery was the radio chatter with cops saying, yeah, let that red Toyota go by. It's the owner, so we can check the surveillance. And then a few minutes later, are you checking the surveillance? We have people over there, or something of the sort. And the prosecution towards Glanville, pre-trial and in trial, there is no surveillance. Yeah, where is it? I guess it's at the same place at the McDonald's video. And the watch, and some jewelry, and Gaither's reports. They are all in Aruba with Rico and little Mike.
Did we ever get the Gaither reports?
No.
No.
She said she turned the file over when she left the office, and
then it disappeared.
Gaither.
Well, what I think is the most interesting is I really think this additional car that pulls up behind the car that Shannon Stillwell was in, I really think that that's the first time during this trial, during the evidentiary arguments, I think that's the first time the state, and then also maybe Al Hogan, and then maybe Viverito were like, oh, maybe we should have thought about that one. So when they enter this next trial, are they going to like introduce a whole new story about how that all went down?
That's the same question I have about Nuts unaliving, because
now it's just the one guy, Demise McMullen.
The jury goes, we didn't see, we were looking for somebody out of a sunroof. We never saw a sunroof. They said we never saw the Infinity, and they tried to play us like we were stupid. They even with the drinks, they said we saw the third car or the fourth car. They just overlooked that, like we weren't going to see that there was another car there. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Theory the next go around, because we still have people culpable for both of those unalivings. So do they change the theory, and how does that look?
Yeah. You can't change the theory though, right? Because the witnesses that testified in the first trial, they testify under oath, so they can't testify differently. So you can't go back and change it. If you do, then you are impeached based on your inconsistent prior statement, and it was on the record in Law and Crime. The world saw it, so you really can't go in there and now lie. So it's going to mess up the credibility. They were already horrible witnesses. All the reason why we got 6 null process. Your case, you got to jump ship on some stuff, because this case is a mess.
Yeah, and now with Judge Whitaker, completely different trial, and with all the evidentiary ruling motions, because this is not Glanville punting it forward. No. This is Whitaker trying to get things done.
She said 90 days. That's it. I'm giving you 90 days.
Yeah.
And that sounds great, right? But they still need the transcript. So that 90 days may be fanciful, because they have to get the transcript, because you have to have that for every witness that's going to testify, because you have to hold them down to their prior testimony. And I just don't know if they'll be able to get it done in time. This is going to be interesting. And what I learned on AV's show today when she had Max on, I didn't realize that Judge Whitaker had been an appeal attorney in the DA's office. So when you do appeals, you're looking at all those rulings, the things that'll be overturned. So she knows the law very well. She knows the motion is going to be good. Yeah, things are going to be very different. Very different.
STS says that if they drop the RICO count on everyone, that kicks out all of the co-conspirator statements. Yeah.
Unless they're charged in the same indictment for an offense, like if they were murder charges. Oh, but then no, because that's the conspiracy. I see what he's saying. You can still use their statements though if they were connected to the murder case and they're in the charge together. But yeah, you're right. All that stuff and hearsay that they were able to get in is going to be different.
Kind of like Blaylock and Ryan, Lil Rod, and I'm still so, and I have to talk to some of their people today, but if they're saying that Blaylock can kind of essentially get off, Ryan also needs to get off. That's my personal opinion based upon what we found out during this trial and seeing how everything is playing out. If they are on the same thing, even though they're different names, different everything, I think that it kind of needs. I don't know how the law works, but I feel like if one is off, then the other one should be off. Kind of how these 6 were able to. And I know that's not the law, but that's just.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, you want it to be like that because that's fair. But Little Rod took a plea, and so when you take a plea,
Right,
you
but
can file a motion to withdraw it.
But it's time served for that, though. So
I was going to say he took a plea for the YSL trial, but his appeal for that murder case is still up,
Correct.
just like Blaylock. So
Correct.
that in that situation, that's where I'm like, well, if Blaylock is off or getting off or seems to appear to be getting such leeway, that portion of the case, thanks to Brian Steele, I think that Rodelius or Lil Rod should be able to have that same kind of situation.
Yeah. Sadly, he needs to appeal himself. Now, I do know there's a fundraiser for an appellate attorney. Now, he has gotten an appellate attorney appointed to him.
Yes,
I don't know who that is or that person's track record is, because I really want to find out more about who is appointed. Is it a good one? Because then the fundraiser might not be needed.
No. So here's the case, right? So they have the public defender, right? But once it's okay to go back to trial, he needs a trial attorney. And so the family has already gotten an attorney, right? But they've only paid a certain portion. They have to pay the remainder of those dollars to be able to have him to fully effectively counsel him. So that's where we're at. And that's where I think a lot of people are getting confused. They're like, well, he has the public defender. That's to be able to push the appeal to go to the Supreme Court for them to be okay. And then he has to go back to trial to actually try that portion. And so he needs the attorney for that portion. And so that's where I'm trying to work with the family. They say they like the person that they got. So I just want to help them to be able to take care of that. And with that attorney, if that's who they like. But we know that appeal attorneys, and I've talked to a couple people, they can range from 20,000 to 50, 100,000 on up. And so when we're talking about appeal, we're talking about you're on trial for murder. You want somebody that knows what they're doing. And I'm not saying anything against public defenders, but the public defender he has right now is simply to be able to bring that before the appeals court, just like appeal has come before the appeals court.
Luckily for that, for the appeal, he can copy paste Mr. Steele's work. Because that was good. That was really, really good. I listened to that hearing for the Supreme Court. Oh, he wiped the floor with the prosecution.
He did.
And that's why I think a lot of people were confused. At one point, people were like, "Oh, Brian's representing Lil Rock." Like Brian is not representing Lil Rock, and I've been trying to that for the past month and a half. But hopefully, the things that I have planned coming up, we can make that appearance, everybody, and we can raise the money that he needs. He's been in jail since he was 15, and I think that he deserves a fair chance at life with the proper attorney to be able to take this case on and debunk everything that we kind of heard during this YSL trial for himself and for that portion. Since it was an overt act, we were able to kind of hear the insides of that case without ever knowing what actually.
So what he has now that he didn't have back then maybe is information.
Facts.
He has facts now. And and that testimony from the main witness, the key witness, I don't remember her name.
Viverito?
Mariah?
No.
Oh, no. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about Roscoe Mariah.
Yeah.
Mariah.
And so now they can use, okay, what did she say in that trial and what did she said in this trial? Inconsistent statements. Because now she was cross-examined by a different level attorney. Probably.
Yes.
So, he has a lot going for him, but appeals, they are hard. They are hard. I mean, even the Innocence Project, their statistics is, I mean, we are talking about less than 1% of criminal trials. And I have had Steve Gosney on a few occasions. He's a Florida-based death penalty appeal certified attorney. So he does know a thing or two about appeals. And then I had Andrea Burkhart, who is a Washington-based appeals attorney. Oh, she had a hearing not that long ago, but that is for another
Oh,
stream.
that was good. That was a good one. I watched
Yeah.
it.
Nick, before we get into it, I will say I do have to go. I
Aw.
knew I couldn't be on that long today, so
Yeah, I
do
knew.
everybody. I see everybody in the chat, so I do want to say hello to everybody before I get off. And thank you so much for having me up here. I appreciate that. Hopefully you tune in tomorrow. Hopefully everybody tunes in tomorrow. If you know what's going on. But thank you so much for having me. It was great to see you, Kat. Great to see you, the
Good to see you.
And I will see you guys another time.
Have a good night.
All right.
Have a good one. All right, I got this. Is Dennis allowed in future cases? Yes.
I mean, I don't think the defense would fight that. The defense
No,
attorneys would fight that
no.
necessarily.
And if he testifies in YSL trial part 2, he is up against the judge who kicked his ass out of court. She's supposed to be neutral for that, but yeah, it's not a good thing. Tracy Fagan, thank you so much. How do you change the passengers if you already prove shots didn't come from the car? Yeah, the prosecution has quite a hurdle to overcome when they try to convince a new jury. Ignore Stillwell, ignore Jack. Let's try to frame this guy instead. Yeah, I don't know how they are. But then again, I don't know how they managed to do this trial with all the interesting. But with I'm saying competent prosecutor, this would have been a completely different trial altogether. So I do believe the guys have Miss Love to thanks for how it actually went down. Because a streamlined trial because there are some incriminating facts in this trial. There really is. But they focused on lyrics and colors and things that this jury said, nah, it doesn't matter. They were interested in facts. They were really interested in actual facts. Look, skimming through the BS, going to, okay, what are you actually trying to prove here?
Yeah. The jurors were awesome. And they also brought up the fact that they were aware that the crimes were 9-10 years ago. So they know they're looking at changed people who have moved on. They're no longer doing this anymore. And they couldn't understand the connection of everybody because the trial was so disjointed. And so it was hard to know who actually was charged with what. They literally, at the end, didn't know until they actually had the indictment in hand what people were exactly charged with, which is troubling because, I mean, the state just didn't present a thorough, succinct case. And so that was their downfall. And then Love objecting at every question the defense asked. The way she behaved in front of the jury, they got turned off. So that's why, because how many trials have you been watching, right? Normally whoever opens closes, right? But by the time it got to closing, they hated her so much, we gotta go a different route. Because she's connected to the Jungle Book, right? She came out, the wolf, the pack, but that person's long gone, home, played out. So now we got to switch it up. And that's why we ended up with Atkins and Hilton closing.
Yeah, that was one of my first jaw-dropping moments, because first, what's going on here? Is this open mic night? What's going on here? And then, oh, Rudyard Kipling. Oh, no, you're quoting one of the biggest racists who ever walked this planet. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
It was ridiculous. And then didn't have the evidence to prove it. Because outside of renting the vehicle, the Infinity, what else were they able to prove that Thug directed?
Yeah.
Or orchestrated?
Yeah.
Hell, I don't even think Little Rod knew him. or the
I'll
vice
never
versa.
forget the "why did you do that?" or whatever he supposedly said to Quindarius Zachary. Like, clearly you didn't know, and clearly you don't condone it if you're saying, why would you do that?
And then directing people, well, go talk to the cops. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a gang leader. I mean,
Right.
not even a lawyer would say that.
And that's someone that they also presented this theory that you have Jeffrey Williams hiring lawyers for everybody wants him to hire a lawyer for them, and if that's the role he's playing, why would he tell someone to go speak to the cops without an attorney? So sometimes the way that they would just keep burying themselves, like they're like a fossil under a bunch of sediment, and they kept putting the sediment above themselves. Every time they tried to pitch one little angle, they do another angle that was contradictory.
Yeah.
So, but oh well.
It was too much evidence.
You said that, Fit Lawyer, you said you didn't get to watch the Juror 409 yet? The one that interviewed with Dennis Byron?
I listened to some of it, but I was in court that day, so I was kind of running around. So I was in and out, but enough to know that she was going a different route with how she felt about the case and about the evidence.
There was one part that and the way she was speaking through the interview, it was almost like a few times you could catch her realize that what she was saying didn't put herself in the best light, and she would like try to like course correct, but by the time she got done saying whatever she was saying, and she was speaking with the co-host that Dennis Byron had on, and she went down this kind of long-winded sentence where she said, "Oh, and I just kept asking myself, what are they not letting us see?" Which to me is the question that I would ask of the state, of the prosecutors. I can hold it against a witness if, they're a police officer and they didn't collect something, they didn't follow procedure, or an investigator doesn't look at something. I can hold that against the credibility of the witness and the overall procedure, the whole investigation. But as she continued to answer, she was saying, oh, because every time they were trying to get into something, the defense would object. So I was like, oh, whoa. She almost made a good point. But she, in her head, still doesn't understand the burden. She doesn't understand the way that this court system works here in the United States. She was trying to read into the gaps that the defense didn't fill, and it's not their burden. And she made it all the way through the end. She went through closing. So she should have known. And she said she was a legal professional, some type of clerk or something. And I was just so stunned by that.
It doesn't surprise me because jurors, you never know what they're thinking. They're lay people, and human nature a lot of time plays a part. And so if you're watching something, just think about it. You go to a movie and every 10 minutes in the movie, they mute it for 30 seconds. You're going to say, what are they leaving out? What are they saying?
Yeah.
What was it? So it was not necessarily saying, I feel I'm taking a position, although she did, but it's just human nature. So she could have felt the same way. It could have been the other way as well. And that's what you think about as an attorney when you're at trial. You kind of don't want to object so much, which is why I was so surprised that Love did as frequently as she did, because it gives off that opinion. What are you trying to get me to not say? So it's confusing as to why she only applied it to the defense. Like, I get the
why
thought,
I thought it was so.
But some people, she probably also had the idea they're in jail, so they must be guilty of something.
Yep.
I heard some evidence that, because I had someone up on my panel the night we were talking about, and she said, I mean, they had guns, they had drugs, like these people were involved in bad things. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, I don't think they did the murder, but I still know they did other bad things. And that's sometimes how jurors feel. And so as a defendant, you think about that. As an attorney, you think about that. Max had no clue what that jury was going to do until that verdict was read. The questions the day before threw him off. But then when you hear the jurors say why, the song, they didn't care. One person couldn't understand English well and just wanted to hear the lyrics again. But on the outside looking in, you have no clue where this is going. Why are they asking these questions? And they mentioned for Yak Gotti that if Doug had have said that was his watch, they were going to say, well, he was in the house, so he gets possession of the drugs, so every little thing is just so nuanced. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And even at those jury questions, Miss Love couldn't help herself.
Oh my gosh.
She didn't want to correct the jury about who was on the jail call and or the wiretap. And I was sitting there. Did she just say that in open court in front of cameras?
Where's the
Honestly,
candor?
just in front of the judge. Why would you want to put that impression in front of the even if this wasn't televised? I think you need to still watch your step with the judge, because the judge could remember that next time they're doing another case with you, or listening to an argument in the same case later down the road. So why would you do that?
You have a duty of candor to the court. And the judge spoke about that over and over with her and over with the state. I just couldn't believe down to the last minute you're willing to fight dirty to get what you want, and then had the nerve to not even go into the jurors and say anything to them at the end of the trial. And I think that's just a poor character trait of hers, that is how she chose to handle that.
I think she was scared of getting a citizen's arrest on her.
Especially because I heard the jury was kind of feisty, so who knows how it would have happened. But I mean, you stick your head in and say something. You had these people sitting here for 2 years. You don't even say anything. Are you that sore of a loser?
Is it that hard when other members of your team are going in there? It's not like you have to carry that weight on your own. You could have just gone and been the fly on the wall while Abate, Atkins, Hilton spoke, because it seemed like Hilton and at least one of the guys went in. I don't know how many, but you don't need to steer the ship. If you have others that are going to talk, you could just go there to be present. And she still didn't want to do it. And she wasn't present at the status hearing, so she wasn't busy doing that either.
No, they all abandoned Abade for the status hearing. Judge Whittaker just like, well, so you're alone. Okay.
That was a moment.
Peace Peony, so there will be 5 more trials? No, 1 more with 5 defendants. Unless
someone doesn't get severed.
That's all. That's almost 3 months away. Anything can happen.
I think we're going to get a bunch of motions. And I think it's just interesting that they never addressed the immunity order. I went and looked at it was filed back in April of 2023, and then there was a status hearing about 45 days later. And on that status hearing, the order, it was like, nobody has motions, but Eppinger still has this outstanding immunity motion that the state never responded to. We need the state to respond so we can set a hearing for it. And that has just been in limbo. There's been no update that I can see on the docket. So that's over a year ago.
So he has a self-defense immunity motion?
It's a justification, and there were 3 affirmative defenses: self-defense, defense of others, and defense of habitation. I forget the actual technical terms, but I guess because that's where he lived. So, but the thing is, the state never responded. So
now I will say they don't really respond to those type of motions. I've filed those. I've just argued one a couple of months ago. The state didn't file a response to that either. So those motions aren't a file a response or it's going to be dismissed type of thing. So now if the judge demands a response, then that's something different. But typically we don't. I file it, and then because it's my motion, and in those motions, the defendant goes first. The defendant has the burden of proof. So so a lot of times I've never had the state respond in a motion to mine. We just have a hearing.
Yeah, it looks like that maybe that's a Glanville thing, because that was still back, or maybe it was a different judge entirely back then.
No, Glanville was the first appointed to this Rico.
Yeah.
So he's been on it. It was in front of him. They claimed we are ready for trial in December of 2022, and then they spent 11 months finding a jury, and then they spent a year trying to get in new stuff.
It just amazes me that they indicted the case and weren't ready for trial, because that is not the method they could have went. They could have arrested, and then they would have had the statute of limitations time to indict the case, but they arrested on a grand jury indictment, meaning you went before the grand jury, you presented all your evidence, you asked them to indict on these charges, and then when you arrested them, you weren't ready for trial. That's why Brian Steele and Keith Adams filed the speedy trial demand, because let's go. And they weren't ready. They never were ready.
No, they weren't ready up until the verdict. and they are still not ready. I mean,
Still not.
they had 740 witnesses, and then credit to Judge Glanville, one of you, he's forced them down to 400, and then down to 240, because those were essential for this case. And a week later, they brought up 2 guys from the rental car company to testify about how to rent a car, and we found out that Mr. Williams is not a gold car member. Combined
Waste of
5 or
time.
6 hours of testimony from
Yeah.
2 guys
Yeah.
from Hertz, and we found out nothing. And those were that was the skimmed down version.
Ridiculous.
Imagine.
Ridiculous.
Imagine how absolutely useless the rest of them would have been. And then they jailed a victim, Miss
Bennett.
Miss Bennett, for basically no reason. Because she said, I don't want to come testify. Yeah, not wanting is not, I'm never going to show up. No, she just didn't want to. And
But you know what they do with words. They let words mean whatever they want them to mean when it benefits them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a nick for jailing people just to get their... When I come to think about it, most of the witnesses in this trial who weren't cops or CSIs were jailed at some point.
Or forced to testify because jail was held over their heads. Yeah. That's why Ashley Merchant was so worried about her client testifying, which she didn't end up having to do so. But it's ridiculous.
Oh, that was a good letter she wrote to Judge Whitaker. Oh,
she has been tearing the DA's office up since January with the Fani Willis subpoenas and the motion. I know they hate her.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's the one reason why they didn't call her client, because they knew, okay, if we screw up, she's going to tear us apart even more. And
then they had the pleas too, so I think that kind of dealt away with the need for him to be called.
And when Mr. Steele was held in contempt, and she went in there and went to school with Judge Glanville, telling him, you don't even know the difference between civil and criminal contempt. And I mean, you don't say that to a judge. The way she spoke to Judge Glanville, I've never heard a lawyer talk to the way she acted as a principal.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see. Now, I watched all of the, well, not all of them, but at times she can be
long-winded.
Long-winded, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
But damn, when she needs to and gets to the point, she's that is a whole other level of lawyer.
Yeah.
Whole other level. There's
it
a
gives you that
reason
confidence.
why...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. Now go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you have that confidence when you know you're right in the law.
Yeah.
When the law is on your side, you go in, and when you're fighting, trust. When Brian Steele got arrested, so GACTL, the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, there's a listserv. So as that happened, the listserv is going off. Their emails going through is get down here to the courthouse. They're asking people to come and support. There were 30-something lawyers down there. So when we were upset as a defense bar. So there was no love for the judge at that hearing. You're about to lock up a criminal defense attorney of how many years? Well esteemed, and he's right, you're wrong, and you won't even admit you're wrong and just bag off and just handle it a better way. So she had to do what she had to do.
Yeah. And the pictures that was taken from the hallway, lined with lawyers who were there within there. That was a show of force. And Judge Glanville really didn't want them in the courtroom.
He's like, there's no room in here.
Oh, there's no room in here. Well, the jury box, there's nobody there. I don't want them in the jury box.
He knew he was wrong, but he had gone so far that it was no coming back for him. The ego, he just couldn't revert, because I mean, it was clear signs like, oops,
Yeah.
but he couldn't bag up off of it. So unfortunate.
Yeah. Now, the one thing in that I think I'm still there's a lot of things that nags me about this case, but Judge Krause, in her decision, that one line about believing the ex parte in itself wasn't wrong, but she didn't apply a law or a statute or anything. That line, I hate to be conspiratorial, but it seems it was there just to buy him a way out.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
Whitaker caught that because she specified that it was in dicta. And I think she said it's in dicta, or at least I think it's in dicta. She said some phrase like she stated that it was in dicta and then like walked it back a little teeny bit. But I think Whitaker read it that way.
Yeah, it definitely think it, because I mean, you got to understand, Judge Glanville is the chief judge of Fulton County still, right? He was just recused from this case, but he still sits in his seat.
Yeah.
He is still the head of all the judges in Fulton County, so he's their boss. And so, I mean, if your boss did something wrong and you got to write him up, or you got to write something to recuse him, you still want to kind of cover, kind of do what you can to kind of help him save a little face. Now, ex parte hearings are not wrong. They aren't. Was this one? I have not done the case law research, but I feel yes, just because Woody was he was a sworn witness. That's where I think it was wrong. They're not wrong to have, but when you come out of them, the judge is supposed to take the bench and inform the defense. The state asked for ex parte hearing to address blah, 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 blah. And that didn't occur. And Woody was in there. So I think that kind of makes this one improper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, by the way, first here, STS, for your information, wrote my U.S. House representative about the RAP Act today. Thank you so much. Yeah, I made a video about it here's the link to it, about where I read from the RAP Act, because it's a very short one, but it's very concise about when it comes to lyrics or expressions of art. So it's not limited to just lyrics. It is quite broad. The judge has to have a hearing outside the presence of the jury, and the bar is clear and convincing evidence. Now, it's still up to the judge's discretion, but it's better than what's going on now. And this is on federal level. So it's better. We should it was a lot. I bring this up on a few occasions. Late 80s, early 90s, in the Norwegian black metal scene, they wrote songs about murder and specifically killing Christians and burning of churches and everything. And there was about a dozen murders. They burnt down churches in Norway, but never did their lyrics come into evidence. Because freedom of expression, artistic expression. Even at the point where, well, they ended that guy and then they sang about ending that guy, and it was still not admitted. But that might be a too hard bar to go to, but yeah. At one point, I'm going to do a special about that, because that was an interesting time. Yes, folks, I'm that old.
Seasoned.
Seasoned. Oh,
Like
thank
that.
you. Oh,
I like
seasoned. Yes, I'm seasoned. Yeah, I'm
seasoned.
Oh. Thank you. Let's hear. The lead. Okay, remember, Love was still objecting during the opening, even when jurors said, "Madam, the jury is coming in any second. Have a seat."
And not only was she objecting, she was loudly arguing with the judge. That was the part about that. It was yelling in the courtroom.
Yeah, and
I
he
love
had to
those
get
jurors
the
said they could
jury.
hear the fuss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
and he
couldn't hear
had
the
to get the
words, but they
jury in.
heard the chaos.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to get the jury in because she wouldn't have stopped.
Hmm. Yeah. But he set a precedent for that, right? Because he allowed her to always argue her points past his ruling
Yeah,
to change. And I don't know if that was because of their relationship in the sense of being in the same county, the same courtroom for years and years and years. They've done a lot of trials together, so they have a rapport. And so I believe that's why ADA Love behaved the way she did. But every ruling that was not her way, she argued for 10, 15 minutes longer after until he just broke down and changed his mind. And Brian still every time would jump up and be like, Judge, you already ruled. What are you changing your mind? Like,
yeah,
it was very bizarre.
yeah.
Very bizarre.
I've never seen anything. I mean,
Never.
I've been visiting trials. I've been fact organizer or whatever you call it for different trials. If you even whisper too loud against the judge over here, you just don't.
Yeah.
And I was just, why is he letting this happen?
Yeah.
Because he is supposed to be, this is his courtroom. He's sitting on a throne in his courtroom. But she made him look like a lapdog.
Yeah.
And that's not a good look. But he got
And then he
reelected and he's still presiding cases.
Yeah.
So, are we going to see Woody again? Well, we are definitely going to see him if we're going to see him as a witness. I don't think that's a good idea. But then again, if they're going to try to prove Donovan Thomas murder, they kind of have to.
Did he? How?
There's
what
no
were the
nexus
punchy
without him.
moments when was Nard mentioned? Demise McMullen. Like he didn't come up as much in the Woody interviews. Like I don't really have a specific.
I don't remember him being mentioned at all by Woody.
And I think that for me, that might just be because I tuned some of those calls out. I tried, but I don't remember anything punching about.
Yeah. Imagine how many people locked up behind Love and Glanville. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see here. And then Welsh lady reads, as an apology to Niklas and Forever Young for accidental timeout. Yeah, sometimes my mods, when they are... the buttons on the chat is strange. And sometimes you're trying to do something and you end up doing something else. So... apologies to Forever Young. Hope you're still around. Because I can't do anything about timeouts. If you accidentally yeet people, I can bring them back. But I can't do anything about timeouts. I don't know why. Oh, yeah. Before people get to, oh, you're only reading super chats, I can't keep up with the chat. So if you have a question, draw this big red question mark. That way my mods and me can catch them. So because this is a larger audience than I usually have. Thank you thank you, by the way. I'm quite satisfied being around 200, 250 simultaneous. I mean, I'm fine. Some other here have different numbers.
Wait, there's some details on Nard there, and these are ringing bells now. So Mixed Chick says, I think they said Nard was the one that was putting people on the hit list, and Woody was one of them. Don't quote me. And then Dimtria says Woody said Nard was at the McDonald's, I believe. And DA Southall, and this I do remember because of the photos, the writing on the photos. Nard was mentioned in one of Woody's investigations and one of Quindarius's interviews.
Okay.
So
interesting. So will they bring him back to testify? Like, it seems like they may need him to provide that info. But the problem with him testifying was just not so much his antics, but also how they had to get the testimony in, right? So they had to go through this video, get all of these I don't recalls for hours, to then go back and play the video to impeach him because no, you did. It just was ridiculous, all to prove what? Because you're watching this video of little bitty Woody, who was like 10 years younger than the person we're looking at now. And the jury never believed that he was truthful at all. They never believed anything out of his mouth. They didn't think Woody was being truthful. So I just don't see the point of going through that again. Please don't put us through all of that testimony to listen to I don't recall again, to hear those videos. No.
Yeah, and also I think it was when Shard, I believe it was Shard who did the cross-examination. He played a bit, asked a question. Played a little bit, asked a question. It was so clear instead of let's play all 19 hours and then ask him questions on to which I don't recall, or I was finessing, I was lying, I was doing anything, because that people can relate to doing anything to get out of trouble. Not to that extent, but I mean, when we were kid and did something foolish, and your mother said, "Huh? Oh, it wasn't me. It was a troll." I mean, yeah, we've all been there. We can relate to that. How we try to finesse ourselves out of things and never succeed because mothers know everything.
Yeah. And then I feel like the most succinct state argument that I ever heard about the evidence was Hilton's defending the motion for directed verdict. That's when I knew she was going to close. I mean, it was succinct, right? It was because the defense was arguing that Woody was not credible. He was lying on the stand, but then she proved, well, she said out of her mouth that we have evidence that shows that when Woody said this, his phone put him here. When he said this, even though he tried to deny it in court, his phone put him here. Like, it was the best presentation of the state's evidence. If they had tried the case that way, it may have been a different result. If they had lined it up and made it succinct, because they were just jumping to this witness. Oh, 2 witnesses on this murder. Let me jump to this murder. Let me jump to this armed robbery. It was just all over the place. But if they had a succinct case, I'm not sure where we would have ended up with things. But nothing was going to change that FedEx video. Like, they didn't have proof. It didn't prove anything. Neither did the videos from Nuts Murder.
Had it. Thank goodness they had that video, because if that video wasn't there, I think Shannon could have been done for.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Because they present, it just would have been their evidence. It just would have been Hogan testifying to what he got from his investigation, which was half-assed. Because how are you an investigator and you don't try to place every vehicle in the video? You even try to find the U-turn car because you want to talk to that person to figure out what they did. And how was your police friend able to help you and find his video but couldn't find his video? It was just ridiculous.
Even that shadow of a person walking, try to find that one. And Hogan, when he said this, I could not. He's done 100 murder investigations and never found a murder weapon.
And that happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Yeah, but why did he wasn't asked about it? It was unprompted. It sounds really bad.
And as if he was trying to bolster his case. And maybe had he presented it factually or with some statistics or what, because a lot of times you don't find a murder weapon, right? Unless you're caught in the act, you've displaced evidence. You've gotten rid of the gun. You've thrown this. You've burned the car up. You've changed your clothes, which is why I never believed Shannon cleaned the car out if he didn't change his clothes. So I'm going to wash the inside of the car that can have GSR, but I'm not going to change the clothes that can have it. It just never made sense. Never made sense.
Vivorito, or as the closed captions call her, Big Burrito. And when she claimed that she could identify a Glock by the butt end from a still because a few years ago she wanted to buy a gun and she held one. And I'm like, oh no.
Her credibility was shot when she actually thought that somebody was going to put 24 million on someone's head. I'm sorry. Okay. They don't have $80. I think they paid somebody $80 to do YFN Lucci. They're begging for bond money. They're doing, if someone has 24 million that they're just going to throw away and put on someone's life.
Yeah.
Everyone's living good. It's ridiculous.
Who was that guy with a birthday who went to a Lil Wayne's party? They had to pull together for him to get into the. I mean,
right? Just ridiculous, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. A lot of just people sitting back. You're not in the gang. You're not in their culture. You're not in the YSL label. You're not a part of this. But you sit back and analyze everything they're saying and put your opinion on what it means. And that's how we're prosecuting a case. That's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chase the evidence only.
Mixed chick. Meanwhile, Woody's out here doing FaceTime with the jury. Yeah.
Not surprised.
And he was. Did you see that when he was on stream with Doug and expressed that he didn't care much about Mac's closing arguments? Yeah, I can't imagine why.
Right.
But
right.
I mean, even though I don't know who did it, but more probable than Shannon Stillwell. Yeah.
You know what? If I'm the state, I'm making the argument. I'm tracking down that third vehicle. So someone was saying that in the third or fourth car, whatever. I heard people saying in the chat that Boyer was allegedly driving that vehicle, who's supposed to be a YSL associate. Cat, not Williams. I don't know. You keeping up with the facts way more than I do. So I don't know. But
the claim,
to me, listen,
the
way the chat is doing that, I think that's how the state is going, oh, maybe we should have thought maybe that was an option.
Yeah. That was the better argument. The better argument to me was that Shannon and Quay and all of them were at the gas station. They see drinks. They're like, oh shit, there's ops. Okay. They make a call to someone or get word to that whoever was driving that vehicle that sped up fast. We're gonna keep an eye on him. We'll let you know where he is.
They probably saw our cars already, so
right. So we can't do it. So we'll follow him. They tell him where we're going. They see him pulling up. They drive off quickly. That third car pulls up, does it, busts the left, and go. That was a better argument than trying to argue that what they went with, because they tried to act like nobody could see this other car.
I don't think Hogan looked at it. I genuinely think Hogan did not, like, it just out of sight, out of mind, even though it's in the whatever. He was already looking for this car based on what the FedEx guy had told him, right? Because he had this image of what he could see on the video later, but he had a relayed visual of what it was because he was told it was on the video first.
Yeah, but when you get the tape, you're a detective. Your spidey senses are supposed to go off and you're supposed to want to solve the crime. And so you're supposed to investigate every piece of everything. And APD, I mean, this is the case that the world is seeing, but I've had cases in Atlanta, and that's just kind of a running joke in our community, the legal community. Like, if APD investigates it, it's probably not going to be that solid. I had a case where my client was charged with shooting somebody in the neck. And when I tell you the police report was this long, it was an APD investigation this long. The file was turned over to the cab that was dismissed. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And knowing what we know now about former Detective Gaither, who spent her first, 4 years avoiding going on 911 calls, and then department jumping, and then all of a sudden she gets to the gang unit. And then you see all the others who also are in the gang unit, and you think, I thought for myself, is that the end of the line? Is there, it sounds like it. And who quits after 19 years? 1 year before full retirement. Then she gets a job at, what was it? Cobb County. As an investigator for the DA's office, and leaves after 3 months. Now, folks, I've done labor law for over 30 years. In my personal opinion, I have to add that one, she got the option, either you go or you're gone.
Yeah.
Because a year before full retirement, and
Yeah.
then just 3 months at the DA's office, the optics tells me,
Yeah.
oh, she got option 1, option 2, in my
Her
opinion.
file probably says voluntary resignation. That's probably what's listed, which lets you know what that
Yeah.
means.
Yeah, and I remember because Doug has done a lot of civil, so I brought this up to him about, could you search for an NDA? And he said there's no NDAs. They are just, yeah. So he might not agree fully with my opinion, but I'm actually sticking to it because I've seen it so many times. I've seen it so many times, and yeah. Oh, I almost missed something. Where did it go? Okay, now I lost it. Okay, so Gaither for me, now she works for the Hawks security something. Well, good for her. She found her a new job.
Yeah.
And then Vivorito. From what I've been able to gather, she moved to New York. She started a police academy, never finished. Then there's a 3-year gap in her CV. She shows up in Atlanta, probation officer. Does that for 7 years, I believe. And all of a sudden, she's all in the gang unit and cop things. So that's a weird trajectory for a career. And what was it, in January she got hired by the APD in this created position? Yeah, this smells fishy.
So was her years of probation officer what qualified her for the gang unit? Did she officiate a lot of gang members' probation? I know Kayla mentioned that Kayla Bumpus was mentioning that I think she was a probation officer for about 15 of her clients in the past. So is that where she learned about the games? Like that's
it seems like she got a lot of information, at least.
Yeah.
Well, now
she
it
was stalking
explained
everyone.
The inability to decipher, like, or not really decipher, because I'm sure she knew. I think it's more in the way she wanted to answer during the Daubert hearing. Personal versus work experience, personal knowledge versus work experience. And she would always try to say, it's both. Can't separate the two. Because I think she didn't want to give an inch in either direction to like disqualify herself on a certain topic. So, but that would be why.
Weird.
No, I thought that Gaither was the least competent cop I've ever seen in a trial setting, but then Vivorito took the stand and I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
And she
sucks is she works, and I think if she had a good approach and she did some self-reflection, I don't think she personally will change, but a person with her work ethic, I think she is working hard. But she's like, I keep calling it mad scientist.
Yeah, I mean, working hard and working well are two different things.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
You have people who work absolute the hardest by digging a hole in the ground. They are excellent at it. But that doesn't mean they are experts in shoveling.
Yeah.
Just get a snowblower.
Red Solo cups.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. Have you heard about that case, by the way? The Karen Reed case in Massachusetts.
Now, what is she charged with?
She's charged with second degree. And her boyfriend ended up dead in the front lawn of a cop. And the prosecution then claims she backed into him and left him there. And it's what happens in that trial, I think, is a combination of everything that is wrong with this case. So what they did, the cops, when they showed up at the crime scene, did they interview the people in the house? No. They're law enforcement. No need to interview those. Even though a dead guy is on their front lawn, no need to wake them up. No need to wake them up. And they collected the evidence because they found the guy into an ambulance and then pronounced him dead. In order to collect evidence, it was snowing. So in order to get down to the layer of evidence, they used a leaf blower to blow away the snow.
Gotcha. Dumb decision.
Yeah. And then they came down to, there's the blood area. We don't have any evidence bags. So they few houses down the street was another cop. They went to him and said, he hasn't anybody at home, but he has red Solo cups. So they scooped the blood evidence up in red Solo cups and put it in, what was it? A Best Buy paper bag?
Stop and Shop, yeah, same
Stop
thing
and Shop
almost.
paper bag. Which they then put open containers in this Stop and Shop bag behind the car that they claimed was hitting the guy. It's so much bad things in that one. And the lead detective got a hold of the suspect's phone, Miss Karen Reed. And the first thing he does is searching for nudes. Because he told his friends in a chat that they asked, are there any nude pictures? Haven't found any yet.
Wow. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, there was a hung jury in her trial, so the real trial starts now in January, I think. And I'm going to cover that one because there will, unless anything happens, depends on what happens in this trial, the YSL trial, but that next one doesn't start until February 24th. So I do have time to cover that retrial. But Jesus Christ.
It's an investigation, and you can't ever go back and fix any of that because it's done at the time. So you're left with that. And so that's horrible. And if she's found guilty, that's life in prison. And I'm just sorry, as a juror, I'm not giving someone life if you didn't do a solid investigation. I mean, you need evidence. You need solid evidence.
Judge Bev is a bit like Judge Glanville. The prosecution wants something, you got it. Defense, yeah. One other thing that is also interesting, because they wanted phone extractions from two people who, they had the hearing. Judge Bev said, yes, you have to provide your phones, but it took a few days for the paperwork to go through. So between the hearing and the paperwork, they accidentally got rid of their phones. One by trading in the phone, he claimed, for a new phone. The other one took the phone through an army base and then took out the SIM card and the phone and dropped it in two different dumpsters by accident. Of course.
Wow.
It is. And then you have, the butt dials. These are just snippets. Yeah. There were phone calls between a lot of the people in the house and other people that went on from 15 seconds to a few minutes. And they all claim, no, it was a butt dial. Oh, so you had your phone. You must have the most agile ass in the world, because your phone, not only did you unlock it, you managed to find the number, call it, and then hang up.
Yeah, before
With
leaving
your
the
ass.
voicemail.
That's crazy. Yeah, those
Yeah.
butt dials will get you in trouble. That's how the 2018 case I had with Love started, from a butt dial.
Mm.
Now to 911. They
Oh
butt
my
dial
goodness.
911. Yeah. So
Yeah, but that's more
Wow.
logical, because there's
don't need
the
to
button
unlock.
call 911.
yeah, yeah. But to actually butt dial a person and then hang up.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
other person in the other end also but dialed, answered the call, and then but dialed. This. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
But
That's
this is
ridiculous.
the magic of, because this is the first time we hear of these cases, but they have probably been going on for decades. But now, through Open Information Acts, judges allowing cameras in court, we can, as content creators, we can show it to show people this is actually not. Now, the YSL case, I do believe, is a 1-in-1.
Yes, I've never seen anything like it before.
No.
I don't think we'll ever see anything else like that ever
Mm.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the movie.
Oh, the movies,
The
because you
show
have
Right,
the
with
the movie.
jury.
seasons.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Someone in
Yeah.
my chat was saying they should call it Finding Rico.
I love the Jurors channel, Surviving YSL.
Yes,
I
isn't
love
that
their
cute?
channel name.
I love
Oh.
them. I love them. They are the best. They are so fun. I can't wait to hear all their stories, especially about how one of them almost got to fighting or almost went to jail, or just the tenseness between the jurors, because there were a lot of different personalities in the room. It sounds like these were the fun ones, but there was some different personalities.
71 did an interview with AJC, and his first name was Kevin. He didn't want to go on camera, but I guess Joseph Papp had asked hey, would you guys hang out with each other? And he's like, no, I don't really see that. I'm gonna move on with my life. No offense, but we're from different walks of life. But the other side of that is they all came to the same consensus. So
yeah,
even though
yeah,
I'm waiting to see if we hear a gripe. I think the DA's office is just going to leave it with their one sentence: "We respect the jury's decision," and let it live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can bet good money that Miss Love didn't write that one.
It would have been 10 pages.
Right, expensive PR team, I'm
Mm.
sure.
Yeah. Expert, thank you for the super sticker. And then Dave, Merry Christmas, Santa Claus. Yes, every December I turn into Santa Claus. Now, a viewer sent me my new Christmas sweater.
Wait, I want to see it because it looks like a dinosaur.
Yes.
Wait, it's eating the tree?
like
are
the
those
stuff on
little
the arm.
dinosaurs in the red? Hold on, my screen's kind of little. Let me.
Yes.
Okay, there's a bunch.
You got that.
There you go.
Now, thank you. So now this company, their double XL is a bit snug. So, yeah. There's two big nicks in the trial and one big nick that covers it.
Listen, I think we might find out that there's yet another. we have this February trial. We might get another Nard because there's already 2 Nards. Maybe we'll get a third, right? Or maybe they'll start calling him Qua or Quay because it's Tenquarius. His nickname's Nard, but maybe we'll just say he's a different Quay Qua. Maybe we'll get another big Nick. Maybe we'll get another big Nick.
Yeah. I'm saying that this big Nick is not an I might be an unknown, unindicted co-conspirator. I don't know, but I did go to the trial and I wasn't arrested. So.
Guys, Nick, I'm going to have to wrap it up. Thank you so much for the invitation. This is my first panel, Catnap Williams. It was great being on with you. I know. Good to meet you, too. Good to see you again, Nick. We saw each other on the Leeds channel during the debacle, right? Which I guess we know now is true, right? Because, we got a name change on social media. And so, Max
Yep.
said he'll be getting out and moving, so I'm just assuming to Texas.
Mm.
So that should
Yeah,
be
that
fun.
was an interesting debacle, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
turns out, which I already knew, was correct.
Yes. Because you went to the court site and got the paperwork, you did the research.
I got
exactly.
I got the paperwork, and then I got confirmation elsewhere, and
Yeah. I know you
So-
were spot on from day one as well. But thank you so much. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah.
Follow me on
Thank you.
YouTube, The Fit
Yeah,
Lawyer ATL. Go follow, go subscribe, go like and share. Thank you. We had an amazing interview with Keith Adams, Young Thug's attorney, where Young Thug actually called in during
that was
the live.
amazing.
That was an amazing moment. Like, I fanned out for a second, and I had to remember that he could only hear me, because I'm thinking like, everybody let's say something to Thug, but he can only hear my voice. So it was amazing and so fun. So thank you so much for all the support from everyone, and thank you, Nick. I love to come up again, so let's stay in touch, and y'all have a good night.
Yeah,
thank
you. Bye.
And the link is in the description. Just dropped it there for you guys.
And in the description under this live is also the people who have been and should have been here, and and also, folks, Empress Fox, she is severely she doesn't have enough subscribers. She really don't. She's barely at 500 subscribers, I believe.
She's 8-9 away.
Yeah. Hold on while.
Yeah, I just put the link in the chat.
Oh, yeah. So open up a new window and go subscribe to her so she can get monetized, because she does good content. She does. Hi, Cat.
Hi. I was saying, when you get over to Empress Fox and you get in the chat, I think every Wednesday, I think Wednesday's the day, she has Happily Angry Lawyer on. So if you ever catch one of those streams, bug him to start his own YouTube channel as well.
Definitely.
That's the one following all the Munktunk stuff.
Yeah.
So.
There's plenty of space in this space of trial coverage. There's plenty of space. Oh, 492, she said.
Yeah,
so,
thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
There we go. Look, it's growing.
Yay.
All right, we're at 502. We did it, chat.
Yay! 503. Yay.
Awesome.
And watch her stuff so she gets the hours as well. So, yep.
I think she said, what's tomorrow when she was leaving? Because I wasn't here in the beginning. What did I miss? Is she doing a stream tomorrow?
I don't see.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't see anything scheduled.
But she did say, she did say that she was having an interview tomorrow.
All right, so hit the bell, guys. Hit the bell.
Hit the bell. Hit the bell.
The solution.
No.
Heck yeah, I see the chat says I love Happily Angry Lawyer. Heck yeah, he's got to start the YouTube channel up.
Now, time to. This is the
cat. An advent calendar.
Cat advent calendar. Let's see. Mr. Jingles. Oh, he's asleep, but he will wake up soon.
Let's say the 6th. I'm gonna guess it's an angel. Wait, are they shaped like little chocolates?
Mr. Jingles.
Oh, it's a cat treat.
Yeah, cat treat.
Okay, so definitely not chocolate.
No. Come on. Here is Mr. Jingles. My Santa ran out of batteries.
Uh-oh. Let's see, not saying this particular advent calendar is making me hungry, but I'm about to make sugar cookies. I have like the dough chilling.
Oh.
So I'm very excited because that means I get to eat them like fresh when they're done baking, which is the best time.
Yeah, it is. It is.
The way Mr. Jingles just hopped up like that, that's going to be me when the oven timer goes off.
Aw. Hello, Mr. Jingles. Don't bother me, I'm eating. Oh.
Trying to get more, like trying to be in good favor, get another one. One a day, one a day.
What a day, what a day. Catnip I meant. I don't need catnip because I have some growing wild over here. Which in summertime I often have to go outside to look for him because he might be out in the gazing sun, high as a kite, on the gravel because he ate a lot of catnip. And I have to lift him up and then bring him into the shade until he sobers up. Does Jingles get bells for Christmas? I've tried. And now his name is Mr. Jingles because I managed to attach a necklace with a bell. But somehow he and his brother found out a way to detach it. And his brother's name is Buster because I tried to put on a necklace with a bell on it, and he busted me up. So
Do
Mr.
they
Jingles
like go
and
for the
Buster.
bottom of the tree, like the ornaments that hang low?
Oh, there's nothing on the bottom end of that tree. The things that used to be there are gone. Isn't it, Mr. Jingles? Hello. Ah! Don't boop with claws, especially not in that area.
There's a game called Stardew Valley that like you could always get like a pet dog on your farm. It's like a farming cozy game. And a recent update made it so you could get a cat as a pet. And they also added so like when your animal gets to like the top friendship level with you and like likes you, when you pet
Oh.
it, your daily pet, you can do a once a day pet. It'll give you an item, and the dog would give like a stick or a bone. And the cat would give a bird feather or a rabbit's foot. Like it goes out and hunts and brings back the gifts that cats in real life bring. So I thought that was like a great, very lifelike game feature.
Yeah, Mr. Jingles is very, very kind to me because, well, since he caught all the mice in the house, he now goes out, catches the mice, releases them indoors so he can chase them.
Like
And
keeps them as toys.
He doesn't do toys.
Real toys. Treats real things like toys.
Yeah. And I know that he probably got something in because in the beginning of the stream, I heard some squealing from downstairs.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I hope that thing is still downstairs because more than one occasion, I found it while I was laying down in bed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Definitely was a gift for you, not the kind of gift you want.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I got Mr. Jingles for my sins. Here. All right.
I would never suspect.
What do you have coming up?
Oh, I'm getting caught up on real life work.
Oh.
A lot of my clients are real estate agents, and this time of year, they like, I think like their brokers give them the budget starting in January. So every time around this year, they start doing their planning for quarter one, which is where they end up spending like most of their marketing budget for the year. And that puts it's busy for me. So it was starting to get to be a strain for the last like 3 or 4 weeks or so. But now that the trial slowed down, I think I'll be good. But
yeah,
I've got like real life work, so I don't really have an answer.
Yeah,
hanging out in the chat with you guys. Off screen.
Yeah, I have. Well, this time of year is a rough time because we have Christmas layoffs, end of the fiscal year, and some middle and upper management decides that, I need to get myself a higher bonus, and I do that by lowering wages. And yeah, and all of a sudden I have a lot of work because people get their notice now that you're just working for another 3 weeks.
Yeah,
just
right.
before
You do
Christmas.
that. I mean, do you in Sweden, do people do their shopping early? Like in America, it's like a huge, like you do your shopping almost in October at this point, like November. So imagine like having a good Christmas planning ahead, and then you get, after you do all that spending, you get hit
Yeah.
with a notice from your employer like,
Yeah. Now, luckily, we do have laws against those things. Unless it's done proper, you always have a month, unless you get fired. Now, the longer you've been employed, the longer in advance they have to tell you. Now, that doesn't stop some employers from ignoring that. And that's where I come in to fight those. But
well,
it's
that's good. That seems like a like procedural, but at least there's an avenue there, a clear-cut avenue.
Yeah, but the stress on the people meanwhile, it's excruciating for them, because and over the 30 odd years, what can I say? I had clients with a good case, but they decided to end on their terms, if you understand what I mean. And so I really, really hate it. And maybe that's one of the asshole. Yeah. But other than that, tomorrow I am going to be on the Defense Rest podcast. I believe.
Oh, I think they're doing Zachariah. Are they doing the rewatch of Zachariah Anderson, I think?
They are planning on it, but they want a podcast about that case. Let's see here. When is it? I had the time. I need to find them. Well, it's tomorrow. I will post the link in my community section. But it is, I believe, in the before lunch at least. And then in the evening, I'm building Lego at Dave's channel. Dave have this. Yeah, it's the season finale. So Dave and Valhalla is going at it against each other with a 2,700 piece Lego. And then during that stream, they invite people who will build Lego against each other for points. And I believe it is me against Steph the Alternate who are competing with one build.
That'll be fun. I think she has a lot of energy, so you gotta put some pep in your step if you want to compete.
Well, I already said to Dave and Valhalla, it depends on which team I'm at, because am I on Valhalla's team, I'm doing everything I can to win. If I'm on Dave's team, I might take my time.
Oh, and I was gonna say one more thing. I think the 13th would be next Friday, right?
Yeah.
I think I will be doing a Courtney Clenny stream. There was a status hearing today, and I figured, they're still probably not going to set a trial date, which is true. They have not set a trial date. But guess what's been filed?
What?
You know about the laptop charges being dismissed and the violation of attorney-client privilege, but they dismissed the laptop charges to not get into that too much further. At the last status hearing, the judge told the defense, like, you said you were going to file a motion to disqualify the state attorney's office, the Miami-Dade attorney's office. Where is that? I need that by the end of December. I'm guessing they're moving forward with that because the defense just filed a motion to compel the deposition of assistant state attorney, the lead prosecutor, Khalil Quinnen. The one who, so there's a hearing set for next Friday. To argue that motion.
Oh, that will be higher.
Yeah.
Because there is so much shenanigans from the Miami-Dade attorney's office. That was one of the reasons why they first hired Mr. Gosney to teach them about ethics, which certain people within the office didn't like, so they made sure to take Gosney out of the equation. And I have narrowed it down to 3 people. Yeah, so Steve Gosney is in good hands, and he is now working civil cases, and he's doing excellent at it. And they settled with him for his wrongful termination. So he's good. So there's no use of me to do anything more about it because Steve is okay and everything. So, but I will keep every piece of information I gathered because if they screw up again, I'm going to use it.
Yeah, and I would say the defense attorneys representing Courtney Clenny, Frank Prieto got on the stand. They put him on the stand. He was the one that they were accusing of having possibly improper conversations with the family or misrepresenting his representation of the family members. Judge didn't agree with the prosecutor's theory there on that one, which is why those laptop charges end up. The state attorneys are like, we're just gonna not charge it. We're gonna not prosecute that. We're just gonna get rid of that one. So there's a lot. It's not just that case that there's issues with. But I've been following Courtney Clenny's case for a while. So, and I'm pretty, I don't think she's going to get away from this. She's asserting self-defense and now wants to rely on a battered spouse syndrome defense. I don't know, based on what I've seen her say, unless they can get certain evidence that I've looked at suppressed.
Yeah.
I just don't think so. But at the same time, if the prosecutors mess this case up, oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a prosecutor screwed up the Alec Baldwin case. They can screw this up, and from all I know about the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, they are quite good at screwing things up. Okay, I now have the time. The podcast, the stream starts 9 a.m. in Virginia. Is that Eastern time? Virginia,
yes.
Okay, so 9 a.m. tomorrow morning on the Defense Rests podcast. So, yeah. Now, defense with a C, Defense Rests. So it's the English spelling, not the American, for some odd reason.
I prefer that.
Jason
Catches my
Hollis.
eye.
Have I spun the wheel? This is not a spin the wheel stream. First of all, I haven't announced it, and second of all, I'm just recovering from an arthritis flare-up, so not a drinking stream. Not a drinking stream. Maybe next Friday, if everything is good. If everything is good. Okay. Oh yeah. Then the Lego stream. And then Sunday, I might have a members-only stream where I go through what happened during November. The viewer counts, the stats and stuff. So that will be on Sunday. Okay, I think we are. Let's see so I didn't miss any supers or something. I don't think so. But we got 23 new members today, and honorary Viking is TST for $60. Thank you so much. So we got an honorary Viking in TST. Oh.
One last pet for Mr. Jingles.
Oh, he's over there asleep on the box.
Oh.
Oh.
On the box. Of course.
On the box, yeah. It's the box of sound dampeners I ordered. So I guess I'm not putting them up anytime soon. Yeah, it's a good bed. Which is annoying because he has 2 amazing beds. Uses none of it.
Sits, he sits.
All right, folks. Thank you to Kat. Thank you to the Fit Lawyer. Thank you to Empress Fox. I did expect more people to show up, but we had a good time. Sometimes life and stuff gets in the way. That's just the way it is. I will change the thumbnail for this to include the people who showed up. And other than that, Fani Willis stuff next week. I'm going through more and more about the cases she's losing. And
Got like 1 million deadlines next week.
yeah, there's 1 million deadlines next week. Oh, it's so amazing. Then I'm going to catch up on the Karen Reed case. And yeah, so I have stuff to do. I have stuff to do. All right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Kat. And yeah, folks, hug your family. Unless your family is crap, then screw them and give your love to the people who deserve it. And I'm going to send you off with a Mr. Jingle's Christmas jingle. Bye-bye.